Flex Lewis here, Straight Outta The Lair. What's up, guys? Straight Outta The Lair, episode 16. I'm joined by my good friend, titles will remain anonymous, Hans Molenkamp. Welcome to the podcast.
It's like I've been here before. It feels so familiar.
I was asking him before we were on live, what can I call you? Can I call you my boss? Nah, I hate being called my boss. Even though technically he is. He doesn't want to go through all that rigmarole again. But I just want to preface. Hans, welcome to the podcast, my friend. Episode 16.
Just feels so good to be here. Feels so good.
Also, we have a celebrity co-host, a man who is no stranger to the podcast. I don't know what episode we were on here. Episode 2. I should know that. Episode 2, Eric Nixick, MMA Coach of the Year. Thank you, my friend, for joining us today also.
I couldn't miss it. I couldn't miss the opportunity, man.
What a combo I have here.
I love it.
And obviously my lovely wife and co-host, Ali is.
Just going to forget Allie?
I was thinking best for last.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Got it.
You got me, bro.
The Gingers Unite.
Gingers Unite.
Yes. Man, Hans, obviously, you know, you and I have a fantastic relationship, in my eyes anyway. I don't know about yours.
Yeah.
How long have we been friends now?
Friends? We're friends?
I've known each other.
6 years now, I think.
6 years. I think it's...
Yeah, around the same time. Yeah, because Addie's going to be 7. So
6 years. I've been able to travel around the world, travel around the country. We work many expos, and I've had a lot of fun in that 6 years.
Yeah. Except for the 2 that we did, or whatever, a year and a half that everyone didn't get to see each other.
Well, we did, but we can't talk about that.
Okay,
COVID rules, remember?
Yeah, COVID rules.
But, you know, I've had a fantastic time in Monster, and you know, them 6 years, even though COVID times, you know, I've been able to meet and see places that I haven't been and done with bodybuilding, and obviously with me being a massive UFC fan, lots of doors have opened, lots of athletes have been introduced, and probably in some weird connective way, you know, us have become friends through all these small little connections, meeting people. But for me, leading up to Monster, you obviously have a story, right? And
No, I sent in I went online, I filled out a thing.
Craigslist?
No, it was just on the Monster website. It's like, hey, do you want to be a Monster team manager? And I just applied for it.
And you didn't get it, right? No. But obviously, I know your story, and a lot of the fans that are watching this know that, you know, you're a man of many talents. You know a lot of people. You just look at your social media. You have a lot of celebrity friends. You've kicked the shit of some people, or kicked shit of people's hands, including myself. But getting to the point of Monster, take us back to early beginnings, how you got into it, and again, back to humble beginnings. Right back.
All, to the start?
I know the story, but I believe, you know, many of the people watching, and especially on obviously my channel, won't know this. But it's a hell of a story, and it's one of many fucking hats that you've worn.
Yeah. I mean, so we're going into the business side of stuff.
Business side.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Oceanside, California. It's a big surf action sport community, and I was really into surfing and skateboarding. So through like the early years of my life in high school and everything, you know, that's what consumed everything I did. And in our industry, that industry, you know, like you're either going to become a professional at skateboarding or surfing, or you kind of work in the industry. It's those two routes, you know. And I was never at the level of being a professional skateboarder or a professional surfer, but I, you know, wanted, you know, it's what I did and always wanted to do. So the route to get into the industry is you got to start at the bottom, you know. And it's like you literally, if you could get hired on at a shop first, you know, you start doing whatever you can, you know. And so I got hired on at a surf shop and worked at the surf shop, you know. Just, it was a really small surf shop, the first one I was at, and just worked there for about a year, just, you know, behind the register and renting out, you know, boards and wetsuits and all that stuff. And then I graduated to the bigger store, which is it's called Surf Ride in Oceanside, and you know, did the same thing, gripping skateboards, you know, and then from there you kind of move on to the next level, which is buying. You start buying stuff, and you start buying like skateboard decks and wheels and, you know, like different components for the shop. And like some people, like they stay in like there's a shoe buyer and there's a skate buyer and then there's a surf buyer, and like so you get in those molds. And your ultimate goal essentially though is to get seen or noticed by a company in the industry to become the next stage, which is like a sub rep, right? So you could be a sub rep to the big rep, and the reps are from clothing, you know, or wetsuits, or, you know, like those are the big ones where you really want to go. Shoes too. And what the sub rep does, it aids the rep that comes into the store to sell the product. And in the mid 90s to the early 2000s, like we saw the industry grow substantially because skateboarding and surfing and action sports started to take off. And so all of us, you know, like I was going to school, I was in college at the time. Like my only desire was to like be in the industry and eventually, hopefully one day start my own business in it. And I knew that to do that, I had to kind of, like, there was no other way. Like that's the rite of passage. You got to go through it because everyone kind of like needs to see that you've done it, because you're not, I mean, like there are the outliers that come through and somehow got a rep job, but they usually don't last that long, you know, because you got to, when you put your time in and you're working, you know, the back rooms and stocking and doing all that stuff, you can't wait till you get to the next level and you keep going and keep progressing.
You got to know every stage.
You got to know every stage. And, you know, so I ended up getting a like small, like kind of pseudo sub rep job selling surfboards for Town and Country Surfboards. And so I that was like my entrance into going into other shops and selling boards while still working at the shop I was in. And I did that for a little bit, and then I got the opportunity to work at a clothing company called XYZ Clothing, which was a skate, surf, motocross company, and that was owned by Danny Way.
Danny Way, yeah.
And Danny and Tommy Caudell started a company called XYZ, and they were making these insane videos. They're making these videos where, you know, like it was pushing the boundaries of skateboarding, and they were including like motocross, and they're including surfing in it. And like not many skate companies did that. And so I was attracted to, because I was really into both, and I started riding moto, so I got into that. And then they brought on even more. They found this other guy that was like doing tricks and talent, like shit, like basically like backflips and lighting people's hair on, like he would like blow, like someone would light, they would light someone's hair on fire, then he'd blow a fucking fireball, and that was Steve-O. And so Steve-O was a part of the crew. And so they had this crew of skate, surf, moto, Steve-O, making videos, making clothing, and they needed a team manager. And the team manager was specifically at that time was for surfing. And so I came on, like, I was like, you don't have to pay me. I fucking just want to be a part of this shit.
How old are you?
At that time, I was like 20. I was 20 years old. And so I was in the shops around 20 years old. I got the job there, and it was really peanuts. Like I wasn't making shit.
But you were 20 and you were managing a team of athletes who were professional athletes.
At first I was managing just the surf team. Yeah. That quickly, like in a matter of months, like moved into managing the surf and skate team. And then from there, you know, like I had always had like I had always shot photos. I had always been into design. I've always wanted to start my own clothing companies. I've always wanted to do all that stuff. So I had all these like little like mini clothing companies that I would I would try to produce and like make, and just for my friends and whatever. So I had a decent knowledge on how to design graphics, and I also like knew how to somewhat shoot photos. Back then it was shooting film. So there was no digital cameras. We had to shoot film, and you only had a certain number of exposures to get things right. So you had to learn how to do it right. So when you went to go and process the film, like, you know, like you're hoping that your shots are crossed. Yeah, like, because you're not shooting 50 photos at a time going, oh, okay, I'm going to search through this one. This one's good. Like, you know, once you shot that photo, you had to go get it scanned, and that was going to cost a couple $100. And then once that's scanned, you had to go put it in the computer. And like, it was like, creating ads and catalogs took a long fucking time. Now it's like you could do it like on an app and it takes 2 seconds. Back then it was like just to get the catalog, like, so it was ready to go ship to the surf shops and like that was like a good 3-month process, you know, just get everything done, like to get all this, all the designs done, all the stuff, everything. And so I started just like whenever there was something open in marketing, I took it. I completely drifted away like from anything sales related at that point, and I was just like, hey, whatever's open, like, give me a shot, let me try it. And I just was trying whatever I could do, and you know, and they ultimately let me do a lot, and I learned a lot. And I was with this team of like some of the biggest names in skateboarding and surfing at that time, especially for where I was at and the area I was at. I was meeting a lot of people, but you know, some of the rules that Danny laid in place right off the bat with the athletes were like, hey, this is how you work with the athletes, right? This is how you treat the athletes. This is how you look for new athletes. This is what we need. And like he set the baseline and the ground rules for what has become my entire career, you know, because I don't look at stuff where like, you know, like there's a lot of, you know, people are like, oh, I just want the champions, or I want this. Like XYZ was built on components of different types of people that radiated that brand. And so I learned all that, learned how to work with the athletes. I learned how to deal with, I mean, like, you know, I'm dealing with a lot of, you know, in the industry I'm in now, with the fight industry, I have a lot of, you know, like there's a lot of different type of personalities, but nothing compared to skateboarding in the late 90s and the early 2000s. This is when you had people that were like skaters that were going out and skating, you know, in spots that you were going to get arrested at for sure. And when I'm shooting photos on the ground, I'm going to get arrested for sure if we get caught. So the stakes were high, but they were also like transforming into this industry that like basically was like appealing to the youth culture. And so there was a big transition, and all of a sudden it exploded. And like all the companies were like going from like skateboarding companies that sold to the skate shops to skateboarding companies that sold to big mass retail. And the numbers grew. And so when the numbers grew, you know, it was like you saw skateboarders that were just skating, you know, making, you know, just enough money to pay for, you know, maybe rent with 5 other dudes, to like having like bona fide legit houses and cars, and you know, seeing guys like Danny and Rob Deerdick and like major names in the sport going like whoa, these guys are legitimately making some serious money. You got to deal with the attitudes though too, right? Because they knew that. they knew the power that they had on those companies, and so you know, I had to be that baseline of going, okay, I'm going to make sure you're taken care of, but at the same time making sure that the company was, you know, like getting what it needed to.
So these athletes who you're working with now, you are in your early 20s, I'm guessing, in this timeline. You must have showed some major skills to be given such a powerful position, number one. Because I've got guys that work for me, and obviously in all the different companies we have, and there's nobody in their early 20s whatsoever. There's no life experience. So for you to have and possess them skills, to be given such a opportunity, first of all, and then such a important position to look after the best of the best on the road all over the world, and wear several different hats during that time, being a photographer, the graphics guy, tour manager. You know, again, that is a skill from a very young age that you feel like that you possessed over everybody else.
I had the determination, and I did not want to ever lose it. And I knew that, like, I mean, come on, like, when I first started working, because I didn't have, like, nothing was given to me. Like, I didn't, like, you know, like, I had to earn everything when it came down to, like, I had to buy my first car. I had to, like, you know, everything. When I was competing, I had to take my, like, I had to figure out how to do all these things. Yeah. And I never want to go backwards. Yeah. Right. So I never wanted to lose anything. So, you know, I mean, and you know, even getting the jobs at, when I finally was able to work at, you know, a legitimate surf shop, a legitimate surf and skate shop. Before that, I mean, I was working at Lamps Plus, you know, and before that, I was working at Miller's Outpost. People don't probably know what that is, but it was a store that sold jeans, you know, and like, but I was trying to build enough like resume experience so that when I could go to the shops, I'm like, hey, look, I've got like, I'm not some kid that just doesn't know how to work in a shop like this.
Yeah.
You know,
You
and
took
so
advantage of your reps. It sounds like, you know, you're putting yourself in position to where no matter where you're working at, you found a way to learn and apply it to whatever you're going to be doing for later on in your life.
Yeah.
yeah.
Even before you even knew it sounds like.
Well, I mean, ultimately, you know, I mean, I had two career paths I wanted, right? I was gonna be like, hey, look, I want to be able to like run a company and legitimately run it and know all aspects of it and or run divisions in a company, or I was gonna be a lawyer. That's it. And like those were the two ways I was going to go. And that's when I was in school.
Big difference.
I was like, well, I mean, like being a lawyer, I knew that I would be able to work myself and I'd be able to still work with athletes or whoever, and I'd be able to help them in a certain way.
Right.
But I knew that I wouldn't be able to do all the creative stuff that I wanted to do in business. And so I just took everything I could, and I just kept on. You know, it's kind of like MMA. Like I try to stack everything together. You know, so that when something was wrong in the warehouse, I could go back there and go, look, this is how we did it at Lamps Plus. You know what I mean? And like we stacked them this way. It takes, you know, it's gonna save you a bunch of space here, and you know, like you're doing it wrong. And you know, obviously, like people caught on to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I have a question though about managing athletes, because you obviously didn't have experience until you got your first group of athletes, right? I mean, all your previous jobs, managing people is hard, right?
Yeah.
And then managing athletes is a whole other level. So how did you like learn as you go in that situation, or what was the hardest part of getting this group of athletes, never being in that position to manage before, you know?
Well, I had managed people at the store. So,
right, okay.
so
you had a little bit of the concept.
And I had been managed, you know, like when I was, you know, earlier, you know, when I was younger and I was competing, I too, you know, was on the other side. So I felt it from the athlete side.
Right.
You know, I had, you know, I had rode for companies and I had done stuff. So I knew what it was like to be on the athlete side. I knew what it was like to compete. I knew what it was like to like get sponsors, you know, and I knew that side of it. And I knew also that when I was in the store, like I was managing really young people, which was extremely hard. It was basically managing athlete, like professional athletes, you know? So it's like, there was a very, very like strong parallel of managing young 15, 16-year-old people in stores that like, you know, as like 20 years old, like dealing with that, like getting them to do things or whatever. It was very similar. So like I had to like compound both of those, like my experiences as an athlete, my experience working, you know, with younger people and managing them that, and then like, you know, knowing again what the boundaries that were set for me as far as like making sure that, because the one thing you don't want is you don't want an athlete to quit because of you, and that's one of those things that happens a lot, and then you're fucked, you're completely fucked.
So when are we now with the timeline? Because I want to make sure
this is like, so I did that up until like, so the brand continued on like in around 99, 2000. You know, things were dramatically changing. I mean, like, look, I mean, even though a lot of these companies in the action sports world did so well, they also fell fast too. And the reason why they would fall fast is because, you know, everything's cyclical. And so clothing styles change, things change, athletes change, what the people like change. And if you can't like react and respond fast enough on that, you're going to get caught behind. And so the brand was starting to suffer. I then, you know, was kind of in a limbo of like, you know, like not staying at the brand and going somewhere else. And I got offered, you know, a job at, you know, to work with DC, and I did some stuff with DC, and that was highly corporate. Yeah. And I was like, oh wow, like I honestly didn't even last. It was I ended up just like doing projects for like Ken Block and Damon Way. Like it's Danny's brother. So Danny Way's brother, Damon Way, and Ken Block. Yeah, they started DC Shoes. And so Danny, who is like Danny is like the ultimate athlete. He's, you know, Danny could ride a dirt bike. Danny could surf. He jumped the Great Wall of China on a skateboard. He jumped off of a helicopter down the street at the Hard Rock into a ramp. Like, he's one of the greatest skateboarders and stuntmen of all time. And so,
on that Danny Way you jumped though, didn't you tell me one time before he's scared of heights?
No.
You can continue.
We're gonna edit that.
No. Danny Ways like he dropped in from the remember where the guitar was?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He dropped in from that. He's not
Somebody
scared.
told me that he was scared of heights, and it's kind of like more of a personal battle against his.
Shit, I never saw that, man. I mean, all I've seen is that guy break records going high. Like I think he holds the world record for the
highest jump.
Yeah. So, no, I don't know where that one came from, but
Wikipedia.
But so I was in a transitional stage on trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I got offered to go on a tour road trip with this shoe company that was just really starting to pop off, but they were this outlier company called Osiris Shoes. And so Osiris was this completely different animal. It was, and I'm from North San Diego, right? Yeah. And Osiris was from South San Diego. The vibe was totally different.
Really?
Yeah, totally different.
Like OB and Chula Vista area?
It was a little further up. It was like in it was off Convoy Court, and so it was in Marias, Kearny Mesa area, and so it was like a little bit further up than there. But what they were doing differently is that they were embracing the culture of gigantic jeans and where hip hop met like everyday youth culture in schools. So now where you would see like urban culture, where was just kind of strictly, it was now everywhere. And then bands like Limp Bizkit and all these bands that were really kind of accentuating it. That gave this breakthrough out to the shoes they were designing that looked like puffy footballs. They're skateboard shoes, but they're like gigantic, big puffy shoes. Not the kind of shoes that I like to wear, and it wasn't like my style. But I saw that these guys, they needed something that I knew that I could give, because I was like, fuck, I could do something here. This is basically XYZ all over again, except it's very relevant. And, this company is it's not the one that everyone's trying to go work for, but there was something big there that was about to happen. I went on a tour with those guys around the United States, one of the craziest fucking tours of my life ever to this day, where we rented a tour bus and hit every state. And it was basically like a rock band tour. Every skate park or every place we would go to, there'd be thousands and thousands of kids showing up. We had DJs set up. We had then we would do an after party, and it was fucking crazy. And one of the things is that Tony Mag, who was the president of the company, was he was very dead set on recording everything. Right, so we put these in this video. So he's like, the more you fuck up a room, the more crazy shit you do.
Oh my gosh,
the better.
Oh shit!
And so it was people got fucking wild, wild. Yeah. And every place we would leave, every town we would leave, we'd fuck that town up. And between it was just there was the girl skater groupie showing up, and then just gnarly nut shit. And so I went on that tour to shoot photos, and then I wrote the story for Transworld Skateboarding. I actually wrote the article for them, and I wasn't working for Osiris at the time. I just went on this fucking tour and just whoa, this is fucking nuts. But again, I watched a shoe drop, which was a D3 2001.
I remember that shoe.
And so this was like a skateboard shoe that was just over the top fucking crazy. Gigantic loops, everything you could put on a skateboard shoe that you shouldn't was on it. And I saw this thing, I'm like, the fuck is this thing, man? But I saw the buyers and I saw the kids and I saw everybody just really reacting and wanting to get this shoe. And so, in my head, I'm like, fuck, these guys are gonna make some money, dude. And sure as shit, that tour's kind of promote some of the new shoes. We get back and I talked to Tony Chin, who's a good friend of mine that was the vice president of the company, and I'm like, hey dude, what's up? and he's like, they kind of found and carved out a job for me there that wasn't, I had I didn't really have a position, but I could do things, and so I would go and start making my own little projects, and that kind of just morphed into me becoming at the end, the VP of marketing.
I want to go back to the tour though,
yeah,
because that in itself was probably fucking wild.
Yep.
there was no social media back then.
No, we
So-
documented it though.
So how did you guys promote each stop? Was it posters that were sent out or what?
No, so this is what we did. There's magazines, and so there was like all these magazines that people actually read, and so they were not me, but they were promoting the Aftermath tour through these magazines, all the stops on it for 6 months before they showed up. Like a concert would.
Yeah.
They did it right. And so that's why I'm saying thousands of kids showed up, not like a couple thousands. And so, it was stop by stop. You know what was going to happen. Like the bus would pull in and you would see these like swarms of kids, swarms, and they would just come up to the bus and we'd throw out skateboards and do all kinds of shit. Go do the the expo or the demo or whatever. Right after that, like every single skateboarder was picking out every single chick they could. Like, hey, meet us over here, and then it was on, and it was just pure debauchery.
How long was the tour?
It was, I want to say, almost 2 months.
How many guys?
Fuck, there was like how many skateboarders or how many?
How many did you start with?
How many did you start with? How many did you film?
Everybody made it through. Everybody made it through, but it was like there was like 4.
No one died.
Bro.
Broken bones.
One guy, the original tour manager, actually fucking something
disappeared, never came.
He kind of like that's kind of what happened.
No.
He disappeared in Dallas somewhere and no one saw him again.
What?
Is he alive?
That's the kind of story I like to share.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's alive, but it was like during that time. Again, no social media, no texting, no nothing.
Oh my gosh.
All we knew is the guy, and I went on a pre-tour with this guy, right? And he was already fucking crazy then. All of a sudden, gone. He was just gone. We were in Texas, Louisiana, gone. And even Louisiana was even fucking crazy too. I mean, like every place was crazy. Like meeting people, hanging out with girls, them hanging out with you. Next thing you know, they're trying to get on the bus and like go with you, saying that like the people they came down with got shot and murdered. Swear to God.
I love the fact that the tour went on. Like, where's Larry? Fuck Larry.
But that's where the tour did go on, and that's where I also kind of stepped in a little bit more too. So him, I'm not going to name his name, but for him to just kind of like go missing, let me kind of come in and work with a lot because I already knew how to fucking do this shit.
Coincidentally went missing, then Hans took the fucking next position. But listen, we can't talk about a tour and have these names. You gotta give us at least one story from the tour, because
craziest story.
A crazy story from the tour. And if you can, name some top names that were on this tour, because I know from our personal stories that you have dealt with the best of the best during that era. But 2 months on the road, even if you with your boys, in the end, it's like, yo, that's what it's like when you go on tour.
I'll tell. Okay, so this wasn't this involved. I was with who was I with? I'm trying to remember who I was with. This is a story involving me, right? And it was me and I want to say, I can't remember what. Chris Dobstat. I can't remember the actual skateboarder with me. That part was a blur.
Okay.
But we did meet some girls, and this is in Crystal Lake, Illinois. We met some girls at the park, go back to to wherever we went to go do the team dinner at, brought them back to the hotel, started partying with them in the room with them. And next thing you know, like we hear like all these fucking cop cars outside, and like people are trying to like break into the hotel. They're knocking on every door, and then like some like guy is like, I know she's in here. I'm just like, shh. And then I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, it's my boyfriend. And I'm like, whoa, shit. And like, but the cops were there. So like now we're in a weird situation. Like you guys are hanging out with us, like by free will, but why the fucking cops here?
Yeah, we're
like
kidnapped.
And like, so like, what do we do?
Yeah.
And they're like, just don't say anything. And I'm like, if they break the fucking door down, they're gonna shoot us, man. Like, and so we wrote it out, and like they finally left, and like they left, the girls left, and then we did it in the next town again.
That sounds like a very PG version of something.
It's pretty PG.
Yes.
It's pretty PG.
I know some stories. Okay, not for the podcast. But no, I know that them tours must have fucking
okay, then there was another time.
Yeah, give me this is something better than the fucking PG version.
I mean, when we got to Vegas, this is when we like broke the credit card. You know, we got here. It was the last stop, and
The final part of the tour.
it was a part of the tour. It was at some like weird warehouse in like Old Town or something, and like the guy skated for 15 minutes. It was barely a demo because everyone was over it. Went straight back to Mandalay Bay, rented five cabanas, and I think they brought out like 10 bottles of Cristal immediately. And Marcel, I'll say his name, Marcel, was just holding the bottles and he was just breaking them everywhere. And then it just kept going. It kept going. And I'm like, I don't think anyone's fucking paying attention to this fucking bill. and next thing you know, you got like Marcel, and I remember Pat, our team, like the guy that was actually running the team in big old dreads, he's throwing up on the side.
Oh
you got like, you know, Mayhew and all these Canton Russell. Everyone's just trying to like just compose themselves at some point because everyone's just fucking wasted. And then the bill shows up and it was $250,000.
Jesus, sounds like a normal weekend for you, Eric, at the fucking day clubs, bro.
Ow. You ain't lasting that long at that day club.
Man. So
But they had
what did they say when you got that, when you put that, you know, you had to hand that fucking invoice
we
in?
had to call the office and go, hey, they're gonna hit the card for this amount of money. And they're just like, they go, did you get footage? Yes, we got footage. Fuck it. Because the shoes were making so much fucking money.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like you're talking about a company that was like making maybe $12 million in shoe sales one year and then $67 million the next.
Oh yeah.
Nobody knew what to do.
Yeah.
So every night was a team dinner.
Every
dancing.
single night we partied. Every fucking
So
night. we
how
partied.
much was an average night you guys would spend?
Oh, like $6,000 to $7,000.
But that, on a 2 month, after 2 months though, that is fucking a nice.
Oh yeah, no. The
chunk of
fucking
change.
the entire bill was fucking astronomical. Like
I mean, just
you know,
a rough number. What do you think it would be?
I think it was $450,000.
Total
Oh, my
after 2
Yeah.
months?
Yeah,
That's what I
Half a
mean.
million.
yeah, for that tour.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we did it again in Europe. That's when we went to Europe. We went back out to Europe and did the same shit. And we brought film crews, like bigger film crews this time. And I got in a very horrible accident. Right, that's when I thought I got to England and I'm like, oh, I could fucking drive these things. Like, I'm driving
the wrong side of the fucking road.
I'm driving the van, right? And I mean, like, you know, and like this is like whatever you guys go to fucking places and tours and you get there and you're in different countries and you're like, oh, this is fucking whatever, man.
Yeah.
And I'm driving a fucking Sprinter van in England on
the wrong side.
On the wrong side.
Steering wheel's on the wrong side.
We're all no, steering wheel's on our side. I was on the left
That's even
side.
more confusing.
So it was totally confusing
Oh,
because
wow.
I was the fast lane's on the right side and I was trying to go to the left side to go on. That's how I got in the accident because I was trying to keep up and I kept on thinking the fast lane was on the left side. Right.
So the head-on collision.
No, I was driving really fucking fast in a Sprinter van and I couldn't stop it. I forgot that it wasn't a car. And there was this Jaguar that was like right here. And I like did a pit move on it and I slid it this way and another car hit it this way. And the Jaguar went and split in half. Nobody was hurt. And then I I almost ran off over into a hill, hit the barrier, like totaled the fucking Sprinter van. I didn't get hurt, but the guy that was next to me, that was like the guy that from Portugal that we brought in to help with the tour, totally shit his pants.
No.
Shit all over the place.
Literally shit.
Literally shit his pants everywhere. And he was just sitting there crying. And I'm like, dude, you got to clean this shit up, man. and so we had to get our shit out of there. And then the second part of it was
Literally get your shit out of there.
The van wasn't actually registered in my name.
Oh no.
So so like as all this is how everyone's looking around, making sure no one's dead, I was like, it dawned on me. I'm like, oh fuck, this van's not even registered in my name. Like, what's gonna happen next? And police come and like they're like, where's this guy Wes Woods at? And I'm like, he took off in another van. I'm just supposed to be here. I'm just supposed to be here. And they're like, well, no, we need him. Like he's supposed to be driving this thing. And I'm like, they're in France. Wow. They're gone. And so he's like, you know, pissed off, and they send it back to the Renault dealership, and like I had to talk my way through pretending that I was somebody else at different times, and I finally got back and they gave me a car. And have you guys ever been to London?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever driven in London?
I've never driven there.
No, most
he's my
Americans
chauffeur.
will not drive in London.
But London particularly.
Oh yeah.
Fucking maniac.
So now it's me and the Portuguese guy who doesn't speak English, no cell phones, no nothing.
Did he clean his pants? Did he clean his pants at this point in time?
No, because he kind of did, like,
Oh
but
my
he was
gosh.
still in shit pants.
Oh, yeah.
because we had to they gave us 2 other cars to get back to the group with. So we had to get 2 other cars to get back to the group with. And like, I'm like, all right, so how far is the drive? I'm in London.
Yeah.
How far is the drive to Dover or wherever I have to go to get to the...
That's a drive, bro.
We had to drive through London. And
That's a drive.
and
To Dover from London to Dover?
Yeah, I didn't know. And so, but they said it was only going to take like an hour. They said it would take an hour. Where we were at to get to Dover, it was going to take, like, what they said it would take about an hour.
Okay.
And they're like, do you know the London roads? And I'm like, no. I mean, like, how do you get there? And they're like, okay. And they try to explain it to me.
Oh.
We left at 2:00 in the afternoon to catch like the 4:00, whatever, to go on the thing to get to France, you know? Like
the
Ferry?
Channel Tunnel?
Yeah, the Channel Tunnel to get to France.
Yeah.
We left at that time. We didn't get there till 6 a.m. in the morning because we were doing circles.
Around
We couldn't get out. I had no idea how to get out, and then I would have to stop and try to find
Because of the
them.
roundabouts.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like,
roundabouts.
we just kept on getting confused, and then I would lose him, and I would have to find him, lose him, find him, and then finally, I found him, and he's like, I shit myself again.
No.
And he did. He kept shitting himself.
What is wrong with this guy?
He was so nervous.
IBS.
I think it was.
but still.
Yeah. He was so nervous. He was so
gosh.
nervous because he didn't speak English,
Aw,
and
yeah.
he had been in a car accident, and he was crying this time, really crying, and he was like, he just did not know, he had no money. Driving a fucking and no license either. That was another thing because they had to give us 2 cars, and so we're just trying to follow each other out. And I was just, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm hauling ass and like, oh fuck, I gotta slow down and find him again. And finally, like, yeah, that was it.
Smell him again. Oh, he's close.
There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Shit himself twice.
So, Jesus. Fucking total segue in my head. How the fuck do I get back on track here?
Yeah. So I mean,
Anyways.
that was that. Just
You asked for a story.
Yeah, I did. Thank you, by the way.
Yeah.
I've never heard
totaling cars, guys shitting themselves in twice in a car. Can't speak English. No GPS. No phone.
Yeah, no phone.
What a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, and the map system was weird because it was written in English but not English.
Properly.
It's a good job you weren't driving through my country
Couldn't
because
understand the map at all.
you see the signs in my country. But now at this point in time, this is the Osiris French tour, right? You said
This was the
Europe.
Euro tour.
Euro tour.
Yeah, so we went from England to France to Spain and to Switzerland to Italy. Then we came back around Germany and then did Netherlands, Sweden, Finland.
Wow.
Travel, man.
Yeah, that's all in one tour
It's crazy.
with a bunch of fucking skateboarders.
Do you even did you have the chance to even look at some of these countries?
Yeah, I mean, we're driving through them and we're hanging out. You know, I mean, honestly,
the window.
it's a lot better than fight travel because fight travel, it's like everybody, it's so on like, and then you're gone.
Yeah.
Like in skateboard travel, like we were skating spots too. So
Right.
that's another thing too, is that we're going to spots to skate and we're staying there for a couple days to get, like, because guys would want to get tricks and get stuff. And in skateboarding, that's what it's all about. It's like getting the highlight fucking finish.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
go to the spot and you go and they'll sit there for fucking hours and hours and hours of slamming and like just doing gnarly shit for hours until they get one trick. And then you leave. That's it.
You've ever seen anybody like really fuck themselves up on one of them?
On that trip, Jerry Sue fell back, hit his head really bad, and I was like, "Oh, dude, he fucking has a concussion." He's like, "Oh," he gets up, and then his arm was dangling.
Oh.
So it was like a full.
Spiral.
It was out. It was just out, and it was just poking out,
Nice.
and like,
Oh my
and we're
gosh.
like, "Oh shit!"
What
Yeah,
did you
I've seen legs get ripped completely in 360. I mean, it's the ankles, it's the legs, always the wrist. The wrists go all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very different than the fight world where you know, like, you kind of know things are going to happen. Here it's like when I mean, like, you're hoping it doesn't happen, but when it happens, it's pretty dramatic.
Yeah. You mentioned Fight World. I know that's a whole different hat that you've worn.
Yeah.
Now, where is the transition from Osiris to you getting involved with the MMA?
I started training in 2000 because I wanted to do something that was outside of skateboarding and surfing and motocross. And so I found a couple gyms that were okay. In San Diego, there was a place called the Lion's Den back in the day. And then I went down there and then nothing really stuck until I met Dean Linster at City Boxing. And then we just clicked. And I was there twice a day, every day.
Yeah.
And it was my total different world. that I was like, I'm never going to merge the two. I'm never going to get this world involved with this world. And, you know, because I was working in Osiris, working in skateboarding. Skateboarders actually fucking made fun of me. Like when they ever found out that I was doing like what are you doing, rolling on the ground with another guy? You know, like it was one of those things. It was like, so I kind of didn't say anything, you know. And so I was from 2000 to like you know, like just going and doing it, you know, like and training down there. And it was just my outlet. I loved it. I loved training with Dean. I loved training with you know, all the, you know, Muay Thai with Mike Regner, all these guys that were there.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that was a hobby at the time? Obviously, right? Was it?
I wouldn't even consider it a hobby because it's like I looked at it like it was martial arts, you know, and it was like something that I wanted to do. Like once I got into it, it was like I knew I wanted to stay on the journey as long as I could, you know. But I wasn't trying to mix business with it at all.
Right, at the time, right? You were doing it for yourself, and then
totally.
Yeah. So initially, it started off just for you,
Totally
your personal.
Yep.
Was it like escapism from everything you've done?
Yeah. And I mean, I like the fact that I could go down there and I could, you know, I mean, those early days, it was Brandon Vera, it was Jocko. You know, it was, you know, like it was a really strong crew of guys that like Jocko had his own job doing other stuff. And a lot of guys just did other stuff and came to train, but everybody came in to beat the fuck out of each other. And that's what I liked.
Sounds like early days of extreme.
Exactly what it was.
You know, and so, but it wasn't like I wasn't looking at it like, hey, I want to do this as a career ever, even though like I was younger at that time. Didn't even cross, but I had a career. You know, I just was so into training daily that like I just couldn't wait to get down there. I couldn't wait to get I couldn't wait to get down to the night class and train.
Damn.
You know, and so that happened for a while. And you know, as you do that, you get closer to people and things happen. And then I fucking merged the two worlds on accident.
So how did that look?
I sponsored Dean for a pride fight. And so he had an Osiris logo on his shorts for a pride fight. And that was it. that was it. And that's when it all fucking changed. Everything changed.
Obviously that brand was very heavily involved with skateboarding.
Yep.
And that whole genre. So how did you get in front of, you know, the directors or whoever the top of the tree was?
Same way I always do. I just said, hey, trust me on this one.
I've heard that a few times.
I said, trust me on this one. And I'm like, look, let's give it a chance. I go, you know, I think, you know, like this is going to be good. And, you know, it's a different market for the brand. I think people watch it, and everyone's like, I don't know, you know, like I don't know if people really watch that, you know, it's a blood sport. Like I would hear all this human cockfight, all that shit, right? And so what happened with Dean's fight is that there were people that watched it, and they did call in, and it was the buyers of some of the buyers of some of the big stores we're selling to, like, hey, did you guys sponsor a guy in Pride?
Wow.
And so that got back to Doug, who was running sales, and Doug came back to me and goes, hey.
It worked.
They're like, hey, dude, so-and-so from fucking this shop just said they saw Dean wearing a logo, and they were pumped on it. And I go, oh, really? and that kind of led into the next phase, which was sponsoring Diego Sanchez, sponsoring Brandon Vera, sponsoring Clay Wheat, like all these guys that were like, right when Tough was popping, like I was like, okay, we sponsored Kick Hope.
Oh yeah. So Hans, did you have the foresight to know that you wanted to get the brand on him, or was it more like because Dean was your friend at the time and you just kind of wanted to get him in the gear? Like, what was your thoughts on that?
I thought that my hunch was that people were watching it.
Got you.
And I was like, okay, as much as I want to fight. Like my own personal, I don't want to mix the two. I do want to show that there's an open market for something that's about to pop off, like really pop off.
Yeah.
And you know, I've kind of had, you know, with athletes in general, like I've you know, been able to find guys and things that were like, you know, like I got in action sports before it was like really big, and then like, you know, this was the next transition. I saw that there was momentum, more fights were starting to happen, more eyeballs were on it, and I was like, I think that this can work. You know, I think this could work for this brand, because if people see it on these guys, like it will get back easy. And it did. And like, and like I said, the buyers, like there was buyers saying that, not like random fans calling in, but buyers,
the right people
saw it. Right. And so when that happened, I was like, hey, we did have a sit down meeting. I'm like, listen, we got to take a chance. The UFC is going to be it. Like it's going to transition over here. Like it's moving. And I was like, let's get on these guys. Like these are guys like, Brandon was from City Boxing. He was, we were really close. And I was like, let's put a t-shirt on him. Cause I go like, this is something that I'm watching these guys walk out. And at that time there was one brand, Tap Out, and I'm like, look, these guys, and I knew those guys, and I knew them on a different level too, because I was like, hey, because I would actually talk to those guys, because like oddly, as they're trying to grow their business in a spot that was non-existent, I was involved in a large business that was very existent. So I would see them at fights, and we would talk, and like just kind of like spit and just talk. Like Mask and I became very close, and from a totally different level, because like he would ask me questions about business, because I was in the business that he wanted to eventually get to. And I saw them doing it, and I knew that they were starting to get some momentum. And I'm like, no, okay, so there was not, if somebody else was walking out with a team shirt, there wasn't many brands that were actually penetrating the market in the early 2000s. And so when Brandon walked out with the Osiris shirt on, the fucking phones blew up. It really blew up. Like everybody had saw that fight. It was like the people that were in our industry fucking recognized it, and they were like, okay, dude, go for it.
Which fight was that?
It was the guy Justin Eilers.
Yeah. So in the UFC.
In the UFC.
Now, did you have to go back then? Did you have to go through Mike Mersch and that whole?
No, I got a story about that one though too. So I'll get to that.
Yeah,
I'll get to that. So no, nothing like that happened in those days. It was wide open, and so it was just open. It was open in the sense that anybody could come in, anyone could start a brand, and anyone, like if you're paying the fighter, they could walk out.
Good.
Yeah, it was totally clean. And so, we went on to do, multiple people with Osiris, like I said, Diego Sanchez, Kit Cope, Guida. I mean, there was a bunch in the early days that we were just hooking up with shoes and putting the logo on. And then I'm one of the guys that I like, so I'm still now at, I was still at City Boxing, and I was still training, and I was still like actively involved in the gym. And one of the guys I was training with consistently, he had started a clothing company in Arizona called Throwdown. And so I was doing his design work. Like, so he would come to me and say, hey, can you design some t-shirts for me? I mean, I fucking personally hated the fucking name. I hated it because I'm a skateboarder. We're very, very judgy on names and stuff like that. And I was like, just dude, throw it on. I don't like, my brand names I like different. Like I don't want it to be too like industry specific. But I designed logos, and I designed all the t-shirts for him. And so we were working back and forth. And at the gym one day, he was just like, dude, this is going to happen. I go, what? He goes like, they're going to legalize MMA in he named all the states. I go, okay, so what do you want to do? And he goes, I want to start a cage company. And I go, okay, because he knew also like I had my dad was a fabricator, and he made skylights and all kinds of shit, and I knew about gyms, and I knew how to put some stuff together, and so he was already getting into the process, and he's like, I want you to come on, I want you to do this with me. I need your help. I need to be able to market this. I need to do all this stuff. And so I was like, all right, this is the deal. You're going to give me 50% of the company. You're going to pay me this amount of money. And I'm still going to work at Osiris, but I'll do it. And honestly, I was like, I don't know where the fuck this guy's going to get this money from and shit. And he got it. And he got it because he ended up bringing on some. I mean, that was what ultimately kind of ruined everything for us. But he got money in, and he basically said, let's do it. And he gave me the contract and paid me. And I was like, fuck, let's roll. And so that's where Throwdown came from. And I told Osiris hey, I'm still going to be here, but I'm going to start concentrating on this project.
So talk us through a build of a cage, that process. Order comes in. How long does the process take
the orders were just flowing in. We did one.
Really?
Yeah, we did. So I took, I mean, everything that I've done in MMA is all from action sports.
Yeah.
How I build my teams, how I do the marketing, how I do the designs. Everything was always based around skateboarding, action sports, flowing it into this. And so again, this is all before social media.
Yeah.
So we just put out ads, right? And so the people that we knew that we were going to get cages out to in the beginning, that we knew, like we saw all these people wanting, like we put out an ad, like Cage Building Company, it was in Grappling Magazine, and just people were calling because everybody was starting gyms at that point. And so what we would do, and like the theory behind it was this, is that, hey, we're going to hook up a bunch of fighters with cages and like we'll give them a cage and then we'll shoot a photo in it. And that was like this whole model I used from independent truck company, where like I saw them doing with trucks, like trucks or skateboard trucks on the bottom of the board. They would use athletes in their ads with the trucks, but they would sell a shit ton of clothes because the Iron Cross logo from Indy was so cool.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, if we could do that, we could get the apparel side of the business, we could start an equipment line, and we could make this a full thing. And we built the cage for Rampage. I shot Rampage in the cage. We did an ad, and I put this quote, "The best shoes throwdown, Cage Company," and put all the cage stuff on there. Second one we did was, I think it was like, it had been Chuck, and then maybe it was it was Dean Litster. We did Rampage, and then Dean, and then we did Chuck, and then we did Thomas Wildman Denny.
Yeah, Thomas Denny.
Yeah, and then we got the call from
Randy.
Yeah, and that was first gym build out we did.
Yeah,
and we went over there, and like I remember we went into it, and like it was completely nothing was in there. You know, it was Randy and Kimmy, and I remember we ate at Outback after that, and I'm never gonna forget, he ordered the Alice Springs chicken. I'm never gonna forget that. Like, I don't know why I remember that.
And a Chardonnay.
Yeah, and we sat there, and he's like, "Can you guys do this? Can you actually pull this shit off?" And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know if we could do this.
Just to preface for the viewers, we're talking about Eric's gym, Extreme Couture, right now, and you're building the cage for Randy.
Cage in the ring, and we built this cantilever rubber.
And the system that we have for our heavy bags.
Is it still there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I would never take that down.
I don't know, man. I haven't been there in a long time. So it's like we built a cantilever rack system where you can move the bags.
Yeah.
So I still have them.
Were you there when this was being done, Eric?
Yeah. So I was there when I walked into Extreme Couture. Jay Heron was literally laying tile in the gym. Like it was like the mats were just getting laid. The gym technically wasn't open yet, but Randy was getting ready for Tim Sylvia. Yep. So he needed to have the cage set up and get ready because he was in camp. Yeah. You know, he was doing camp, and I walked in just fucking snot-nosed kid, like, hey, like, not open yet, but we'll kick the shit out of you.
Come in. So you built the cage, the what do you call it? What's it called?
Cantilever.
Cantilever, what did I say?
Cantilever.
He said Jared Kennedy.
Jared Kennedy.
Yeah, the cantilever levers that came through, and that Mike actually designed it, but it was new. No one else had done that.
Were you on site for the job too?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. No, I installed the mat. I installed the.
And we went to Outback.
No, we went to Outback when the first time we went to the gym, and there was nothing in there. I still have photos of that too. Like I should give them to you. Like totally bare.
That'll be fucking
cool. And that's kind of how I ended up getting introduced to you, is from Randy, because of the photo stuff and a lot of things, because we talked about the cages and everything else. But what happened was when we expanded over to the other side of the building, the reason why they built the heavy bags that way is because we wanted to slide them down to be able to have wall work. And you could, so you had your bags, but we wanted to be able to wall wrestle as well. So that the concept came in to slide all the bags down to one end of the mat and then open that wall up.
Smart, yeah. What I've noticed though is like you've kind of entered markets at the infancy stage, which is, some people say it's luck, right? Some of it might be, but then you have to see the opportunity, right? You have to believe in this is the direction it's going to go. And it's going to blow up, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, I also, like, with MMA and you know, I mean, like I said, I was doing jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai in 2000. So, like, there was a 5-year period of me being exposed to it and watching as it was growing.
Seeing a market for it.
And then with skateboarding, it was my whole life.
Yes.
You know, and I believed in it. I really did believe in it, you know? And then I think that belief from action sports transitioned into MMA.
Yeah.
And I just was watching that. I was like, I knew I knew it. I was like, this is going to happen. If this cleans up correctly, this is going to be the largest sport in the world.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was going to be bigger than action sports.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I just knew that, you know, I had met, another thing too is I had gone and I was shooting photos at the UFC. Like, so at fights, I shot Randy's fight against Chuck. Yeah. And I shot, a bunch of fights. Because I could shoot, like there wasn't many people that could shoot that type of photography.
Yeah.
Action photography. You know, like in a cage. And so I knew how to do that. And I was working around the UFC and I was like, you know, I had met Dana. I had met like everybody. And I saw these guys grinding so fucking hard that I'm like, there's no way fucking possible that this can't happen. It was just too much. There was just too much rolling and so much moving. And like, you know, then, you know, like, you know, then, you know, like I had, you know, I was probably one of the only guys that was able to like work with, or in those early days with Rampage, Chuck, Randy. Like nobody did that. And to this day, I'm like I can get away with going to other people's gyms that 99% of people will never let me in. Yeah. You know, like I'm, you know, because I you know, I have a different relationship with them.
Especially back then, it was very big. It was very like, you know, you were pick a side. You know, you didn't have a choice to go somewhere else.
I'm old school like that too. For me at the gym, it's like earn the fucking badge of honor and then walk around with it. I'm not I think it's because I used to be that guy too, you know, with the gym side of things. I know it's big in MMA. Is it still big where it's still frowned upon if you move back and forth? I know a lot of guys do it, but it's more West, different.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit more, because I came up from that culture with Randy and Jay and Mike Pyle and those guys where it's like, oh, new guys come in, you beat the shit out of them. I was a little bit more of an open door kind of thing where I liked having guests. I liked having people come in from other cultures, other gyms, other terminologies, because I felt like it was an easy way to learn and cross train. But to an extent, right? I think you open your doors too much and then you start getting, you know, muddy the waters a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, in my, obviously our world, I just feel like, for me personally, it's one gym, one badge, you know, and I wear that around the world. Listen, I travel every weekend, so I am training in different gyms, but everybody knows that my home, you know, I'm not a gym hopper. My point is, if you're out of state, I'm traveling and training, but my home locally, like that's
locally.
That's what I mean.
I'm with you. Like I've never, Extreme Couture's been my home since 2006.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone to other places and trained, but I mean that's my gym, and I hope that my name is synonymous with Randy for the rest of my career.
I think it's very true.
And I never I trained with like personally, right? I had the benefit because I was able to go to all these different places, but I mean, no matter what, Dean Litzer's still always going to be my guy. No matter what. Yeah. You know, and that's just like, that's one of those things, like it's a bond, like always through thick and thin.
You got your black belt underneath him, right?
Yeah.
How long did it take you?
17 years.
Yeah. Wow. By the way, like the best American grappler to ever walk the planet. Like this dude, Dean Lister, was the guy.
Mr. Leg Lock, right?
I mean, anything and everything. Dennis Davis would tell stories about like Dean would get guys at 2-on-1 to grapple Dean, and he would submit them both.
Serious?
Yeah, Dean's he's a genius when it comes down to how to manipulate the human anatomy in a weird way, and like, you know, like, and that's where I always, for me, it was, I always wanted to help Dean because I saw, I really respected the fact that he was so, when he gets on the mat and he starts teaching, and when he gets on the mat and starts training, like, it's like, you know that you're working with somebody so insanely special that like you learn so much, you know? And I mean, like, and I there was major breaks in my training with him, major breaks, but like everything that I've learned, like all the components of my jiu-jitsu, they're all Dean and Jocko. Like they have little bit of different styles in ways, but like, that's where I always go back to that.
And didn't Donaher give him credit? Like Dean, the reason why Jeff Donaher started John Donaher started training legs was one little conversation he had with Dean Lister.
He heard actually. So this is what Dean said. Dean said, "Why would you ignore the other 50% of the body?"
I viewed this,
and and it sparked, you know, and John, and now they, you know, like his entire team, like everyone that you know, I mean, Gordon, who is by far, you know, I'd say the best ever, maybe right now, you know, like that's all stemmed from Dean's, you know, how, because Dean came from Sambo, you know, and so there was a lot of leg locks and like,
Right.
and again, this, so in the early, I'm reverting back a little bit, but like in the early days, we weren't really allowed to take a lot of that stuff and go other places. Because a lot of people didn't know what was going on. And so say I went to train with somebody at somebody's gym and like whatever, and I would get him in any kind of leg, anything. Not only would the fucking black belt in the room run over and probably kick me in the fucking face, but they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you here? What are you doing? Who's this? Where'd you come from? Like, they didn't like that at all, you know? And so like, you kind of learned like, okay. And then, you know, like, but it changed, and it gradually changed, and, you know, everything changed.
Wait, was it frowned upon doing leg locks?
Yeah. Big time.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it not
throw shoes at you and shit?
Really?
Yeah. Very big. It was majorly frowned upon.
Do the purists look at that as like there should be a better way? You don't just go for that leg lock. I just don't. This is not.
Well, I mean, when Dean was in Abu Dhabi and he submitted, you know, people with heel hooks, I think that, and that's no-gi, but I mean, like, I think that's one of those things that it really kind of came into play that you have to do it because it is wide open, but a lot of people just weren't doing it, you know, and then the game's changed. Now it's like, now it's not, I mean, now it's everywhere. I mean, like that's everybody, like everyone's game.
People go for them too much now.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, especially in MMA, but in grappling, it was something like what Hans is saying. I think that it was undertrained and guys weren't, and when you're in a bad spot in an inverted heel hook position or a position where you think you're safe and all of a sudden your leg's gone, you know, you don't have that choice.
A lot of people don't know when to tap too, because it happens that quick. And so, if you're not careful with it, and so Dean would be very careful on who he would teach and how, like, where you would progress into those levels. But like, you can, you know, like, you could be in a lower belt level, knowing these like powerful moves, go and train with your buddy at some other gym, and then just fucking destroy them, and then they're not walking.
So for the viewers who don't know what this is, explain to them as basic as possible what a
so I mean, a leg lock, a foot lock, a heel hook, like anything below the belt basically is you know, you're attacking the legs to submit the legs.
Yeah.
And normally that's joint manipulation, or like if you're doing a straight foot lock, you're breaking things. You know, like things are going horribly wrong, and they're going wrong on your legs. So like when something bad happens on your legs, as a coach, he knows like these guys are fucked. I mean, like if you're an MMA fighter, or if something, you know,
severe injury.
Yeah, and
career threatening.
Say it again.
Career threatening.
I mean, it could be if it was like a microfracture surgery, but it could be career threatening in the regards of like, you know, when you set somebody back that long with that type of injury, what mental things it does, and where do the progressions and things like that go. So it was always very important. We always talk to guys about it. Either A, tap early if you're the guy that's caught in it and you don't really know which way you're turning, or B, if you're the guy that's holding on to it, give the guy the opportunity to either tap it. You don't have to, you know, break the damn thing, especially in training.
Yeah.
So there's literally breaks.
Well, it's ACL injuries.
Rips. So with the heel hook, you're
tears.
taking the heel and you're rotating it. So you're pulling it this way.
Damn.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Carry on.
I don't even know where I'm at.
We were talking before Dean. Where we were at before Dean? I know you said I asked
just more the branding as far as
like you got
the brand.
Throwdown. Yeah. So I was doing all throwdown stuff, and then, you know, we're merging the two cultures of action sports into putting it into a MMA company, and then it got out of control. Like, we had way too many gyms to build. We were trying to produce all these clothing and equipment, and everything was just spinning the fuck out. And I looked at it like it was unsalvageable. Like, I couldn't be a part of something like that anymore when I knew people were calling to get, because they needed, like, Randy's a perfect example, actually, is that I'll never forget getting calls from Randy and getting calls from Kimmy going, where the fuck is our shit? Like, because it was, he had a fight, and it was like, it needed to be done. There was gym openings, all these things, and like, you're just going, dude, like, you're trying to get everything done in a way, and we were making, like, we were charging a lot of money for this stuff. So the people putting the money out were like, paid you a lot of money, where the fuck's my shit? Yeah. And that just added up, and like, I would take the call. I just didn't want to be associated. in a way that like I knew that we were never going to be able to deliver some of these cages on time, and like it wouldn't work, But at the same time, like, I was forging and kind of like doing my thing too, because through these things, like, do you remember the camo canvas?
We still have it.
You really have it? The throwdown?
Shit, we got some pictures.
Is it on the mat still?
It's the same one you put in there, but listen, it's almost all white. Like,
shut the fuck up!
I swear to God.
So this is an interesting story. That was the first one ever made, and that's the first time ever we digitally printed. Like, now it's industry standard.
Yeah,
that was the first time we ever digitally printed on a canvas.
It was the Everlast one, Everlast in the middle, camo.
No, that's a different one.
Are you sure?
Yep, because one we did was it had throwdown on it.
Okay, because I do remember the throwdown one.
Yeah, because I shot a photo of it too, and but what we did is it was camo, and we had it. Do you have the ring still? Is the ring still there?
No, we sold the boxing ring.
Okay.
So when you came in, it was the big cage. We still have the cage.
Yeah, we did the cage and the ring,
and then the ring, and then when we expanded over to the other side, it was 2 boxing rings, 2 cages on the other side. And then I sold both the boxing rings to make space for the cardio, and I put turf and made it like a gym essentially.
Yeah. Yes, that wasn't Everlast.
Okay, so the one we have was camo, and it's got to be 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, I think Everlast ended up doing a deal with you guys or something.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they probably took the same theme. But what we did is we printed on it was vinyl. I think it was vinyl, because I remember it was pretty slippery and everyone was complaining about that. But it was a technology that no one had done.
Yeah.
We printed on vinyl, and like we printed the logo on there. We're like, holy fuck, we could do this shit on vinyl and canvas, and we started doing it. So we did it for Scott Coker. We did this
WC.
Strike Force.
So
so we did the Strike Force cage. I built the second Strike Force cage. Scott will tell you about this. Built it and printed out the logos and did all that. Yeah. Like, it was never done because UFC was hand painting it.
So you guys were the first
one ever to do it.
As you said, industry standard now, right?
Yeah, and then we also were the first to do on the bumpers. Everyone was doing like vinyl cuts, so it was like just block letters up. And then and what I like did was like I literally was like, hey, my buddy owned a print shop, and I go, can you just print something this size? I measured out the bumper pad. I go, can you print something 4-color this size? He goes, yeah, easy. Fuck, why wouldn't you do this whole time?
So it was like a decal?
Yeah, it's a giant decal. Yeah. Nobody thought about it though. No one was doing it. Everybody was doing like you could look at the old UFC. They're just straight letters up and down because it was thermal cut. We did it too. Yeah. We had a thermal cutter. We did it, and they're like, one day I was like, this is taking fucking forever. I go, can we just put a giant sticker on it? And my friend's like, of course you can. I don't even know why you're doing it that way. I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah, and then it's the same thing with the canvas. I was like, I hand painted canvases. I projected up the fucking logo and was like, oh my God, it's taking so long. And it was just like, I was like looking at that, something like, that's not like a canvas that's been printed, but like, imagine that. I'm like, well, dude, can't we just take strips of that? And if I gave you a template, can you just lay it out and just print it? And and he's like, yeah, of course I can.
So wait, you hand painted the canvas? How fucking long did that take? And furthermore, wouldn't that come off in the fighters?
No. Well, I don't know. Well, kind of. Maybe. I don't even
know.
Smudged. I don't know. But yes, I hand painted. Like one other thing too I did is after the hand painting, I made die cuts. Yeah. And I put it on the canvas and then I spray painted it. And that sucked. Did a Budweiser logo like that was. Oh my God. Yeah, and I did but I did the WEC. So we built Reed's cage. I met Reed in a parking lot, in some weird parking lot to go over the cage with him. Built Scott Coker's cage. We met him at a pizza place. We never did the UFC cage.
So did you just stay in town when you built the one at the gym?
I came back and forth. Because we had Eric Lee was doing Eric did most of the heavy work. Mm-hmm. He did all this stuff, and I came in. I put the canvas on there. We usually do the fence panels and stuff like that back at the shop, and then I did come back. Yeah, because that's when we were tightening up the fucking ring and it snapped and it almost killed somebody.
Oh Jesus.
I think Randy was happy,
I don't want to pick
on
that
too. I asked Randy about that one. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to ask him.
Yeah, he was not happy about that.
So where did Monster come in on all this, Hans?
Well, I mean, then I split from Throwdown. Fucking we started beefing. I was over it. Start Triumph United. Yeah. In between, so this is between Monster, and this is where your story comes in with the logos. Mm-hmm. Is that we I started Triumph United, and I take some of the guys from Throwdown, Rampage, Mayhem, like Boss Rutan, and I started Triumph. And Triumph is now like my brand that I'm doing, but I'm doing it the way I want to do it. It's
Still to this day.
To this day. And
Killing
I wanted it to be like a very high-end skateboard, action sports type of brand with good logos and branding and everything. But I wanted to focus on like Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. So it was never MMA really related. It was more like these things. I knew that like in the gyms, there was going to be the Muay Thai guys and the MMA guys and the Jiu-Jitsu guys. The MMA guys would wear whatever, like, because they were training in both. And so I started up Triumph and brought Rampage on, and Rampage wore the fucking logo when he fought Chuck, knocks out Chuck, and then it exploded the company. And I just had a whole company on my hands, and I was doing that. Then through Boss Root, I met Kimbo, and Kimbo came on, and that was when he was like transitioning from backyard fighting to having his first fight, and it was like the big risk of bringing somebody on that could either just completely fucking annihilate the brand because everyone's going to hate him and he's going to fall, or it was going to do something big, and it did. And we sold more Kimbo fucking shirts than anything else I've ever done in my life.
Well, listen, I want to hear more about the Kimbo stories, because that was one of the guys when I was in college that was on everybody's fucking
I'll give
screen.
you a good Kimbo story.
I mean, when Kimbo first hit the net, I think it went through my college like a wildfire. Everybody was sending it to one another. It's like, yo, bro, this guy, look at this. And it felt so like illegal watching it, because we had a lot of gypsy fights, where we're from. But then this was kind of like next level, you got this guy who's like fucking yoked up. I was training too. And all the guys, the rugby boys, all the power lifters and everything. It's like, yo, look at this fucking dude. And then another video would come out, and another video.
In the backyard, right?
And, he was built up in Duranari Eater with us guys as this like fucking, not like a mythological fucking
He was
guy,
larger than life. I mean, and I saw that there could be some potential. Like, I knew that if it was gonna pop off, it was really gonna pop off. But if it wasn't, it was gonna be one of those things that everyone was gonna hate on him, and it would be done.
So take me back to this time. You see this guy.
I didn't see him. I got introduced. So we all saw him. I knew him from the backyard fights.
Yeah.
Get a call from Boss Rutan. Boss is like, hey, I want you to come meet Kimbo. I'm training him. I think I think this could be a good addition, because Boss was a part of when I started trying. I go up to meet Kimbo, and I meet him, and I was like, great, like everybody else. I was like when I first met him, I'm like, fuck, like, who am I meeting, right? Yeah. And I meet him, and he was just like, nice to meet you, man. Like, he goes, I'm just so happy that you're even here to come talk to me about this kind of stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck? Nice guy. I'm like, is this real? And he's just, and so, I give him some gear, and we talk, and he's like, man, I'm just ready to do this, man. He goes, I'm so new to this, man. I'm just so new to this. I'm a student right now at Boss. I'm a student of Boss.
I love hearing this.
And Kimbo was working with Boss and Randy Katami, and Randy was the one who was holding mitts and patting him up and stuff. And Randy would be like, hey, Kimbo, work on this. And Kimbo, I'm sorry, I'll do it again, coach. I'll do it again. And I sat there and I watched him, and I'm like, is this the same guy?
It's a sponge.
But I was like, is this the same guy? Give me my bread guy? Like, is this the same fucking guy that was fighting in the boatyards? Like, this is the nicest guy I've ever met. He's so humble, and he's just so genuinely, like, just nice. Yeah. Like, and just learning and just like taking it all in and like training with him. And I'm like, I'm fucking sponsoring this guy. I don't even give a fuck if he loses, wins, whatever. I don't give a shit. Yeah. I'm willing to roll the dice on this. And so I tell, I'm like, hey, all good. I want to do this. Right. And then, so I have to negotiate the deal, and Kimbo's manager, who still a good friend of mine today, Icy Mike, Icy Mike, had a company called Reality Kings. Right. And Icy Mike, it's a little company called Reality Kings. If you know what it is, it's called Reality Kings. I actually so when I was making Kimbo's shorts, I have a Triumph logo here and a Reality Kings logo here. For those who don't know, I mean, do you know what it is?
Yeah.
You want to talk?
No, you can tell me.
You want to, Allie? No?
No, you can. You tell.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
All right. Well, I don't know if hey, it's probably not safe to Google, but
go ahead. Go ahead.
It was one of the largest porno companies in the world.
Yeah.
Right? And it was called Reality Kings. And so Kimbo worked for Mike, and Mike did Reality Kings. And Kim was like, hey, you got to talk to my manager, Icy Mike. I'm like, Icy Mike? I'm like, okay. And
I don't meet this guy.
He's the best.
He's a good dude.
Sounds like a good guy. He's the fucking best. And he gets even better. I talked to Icy Mike, and Mike's like, I'll disclose the numbers. I don't even give a shit because this is what it was. And this is how much we were paying people back in the day. Is that Mike's like, okay, cool. Kimbo's in. He likes your gear. Whatever. Okay, meet me here at this Hollywood place. He goes, I'm going to be there. Come around 10. And I'm like, all right. He goes, and bring $50K in cash. And I'm like, what? I go, what? Hold on. He goes, yeah, we're not taking any other sponsors. It's just going to be you, Reality Kings. And I'm like,
this is what this guy sounds like too?
Kind of.
It's good for the story. Continue.
He's a little bit more like Mike's just Mike. I can't do the Mike accent, but so Mike's like, hey, meet me at this location and be there at 10 o'clock. I'm like, all right. He's like, cool. And he's like, yeah, I think like we're gonna we'll be working. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like not thinking about really how everything working whatever. Go there, and I'm with Ryan Loco.
Oh, I know this story.
Ryan will back this fucking thing up 100% because he was with me.
He told me this story.
He was with me, and so I go in there and I bring in the cash, which is like this big. I go to the bank to get it out. I'm like, I'm gonna get a suitcase, and I'm like, and it's like, that's it,
manila envelope.
Like, that's it. That's all of it, and like it was like. Yeah, that's it. I'm like, this isn't like the fucking movies. Yeah. Like, this is the. Sure, I'm all doing this. I'm like, this is it. Yeah. And so I get it, and I go inside, and like I go through. Ryan Loco. I'm gonna make sure Ryan's included because Ryan and I had this fucking experience together. We walk into the first door, and there's a DJ, and it was like the DJ from like Cypress Hill, like DJing, like
holy shit.
He's just DJing in a room with no one in it. I'm like, what the fuck is going? Like, what is this? And he's like, oh, like he kind of like it was like one of these. I'm like, where are we walking into? What is this thing? Is this like? Are we? I was legitimately kind of going, what are we walking into? And I think Ryan was like, I don't know, dude. Let's just go. And we walk in, doors open, and it was a full blown orgy going on. There was people fucking in every single corner of the room, and it was in a bar.
Were they filming this though?
Yeah, they were filming it. They were filming the whole fucking thing, and so they were filming it all. Mike's like, "Oh, what up?" Walks over, comes over.
It's like, another Tuesday.
And Mike's just like, like he's just bossed up in there, dude. He's like, "Yeah, man,
it's working."
He's like, "Yeah, they're doing good over there," And I'm like, and I'm just like, I'm like in total fucking shock, right? Yeah. I'm in shock. Ryan, I think, is in shock, and we're just sitting there, just trying to keep our cool. Like, yeah, we're cool. We could handle this shit, but we couldn't. I mean, like, just being in the room, seeing what was going on, how it was going on. I was just fucking freezing up, and I'm like, "Here, Mike, here's the money." He's like, "Cool, man." He's like, "Just cool," just like throws it on the ground or some shit. Like it was nothing, like whatever. And then he's like sitting there, and we're come back to this bar side, and he's like sitting there, and like he's like this, and he's like, "That dude over there, that dude's my stud."
Like
he's like, "That guy fucking, he's the guy." And I'm like, okay. And as this is happening, like people are moving, right? And they're moving around. And like I'm sitting here, Mike's right here, Ryan's right here, and these people move right next to us. I swear to God, no shit. Right here, she gets up on the fucking bar, and now I see a light coming over, and I see a boom mic coming over, and I'm like, oh fucking shit, this is happening right here, and boom, it starts happening right next to Ryan, and like her legs like hitting him in the head, hitting him in the head. And I'm just sitting there going, oh man, just trying not to laugh. And Ryan's like, I think Ryan gets like he had a sidekick at the time. He's all flipping it up, like trying to pretend it's not happening, just like hitting him in the head. And then like all of a sudden the light leaves. Light leaves. They stop on cue. Stop. Still naked as fuck right next to us. Just standing there, just like they're sitting there. And the guy just starts talking. He's like, "Yeah, Joey made the baseball team." She's like, "Oh, he did." And they just start talking like normal conversation.
Good for Joey.
Normal conversation.
That's so funny.
And it was like it was like Nothing was happening except they're fucking naked next to us, and they just were getting banged out right next to Ryan. And like they're just, and I'm sitting there trying to somewhat talk to Mike, but I don't even know what to say anymore because I'm just so fucking like, like every guy. Oh man, if I was a porter, I'd fucking do. Nope, dude. Hey, those fucking are professionals, man.
Yeah.
And you get in there and you just feel small. You're like, I'm like, he's like, hey, you want to get on? Nope. I wouldn't even know what to do.
And Ryan's funny as fuck.
Ryan's
sarcasm, and like shit. Like, oh god.
And Ryan was serious and stone faced, and like, and that's how with Loco gets like that. We were both in it. Guess what? Fucking light comes back around, and now we're like, shit. They start back up again, and it was just like, it's Ryan again, and I'm like, oh fuck. And so finally, like this, like we're kind of just, and we're like, okay, it's like a time to go. Let's get going. We got to get out of here. We got to go back home. Get out of there, get in the car, fucking get in the car next to Ryan. We drove probably about 30 minutes.
Without speaking?
Didn't say a fucking word.
Without speaking.
Just didn't say a word. And then I just go, did that really just fucking happen? Wow. He goes, bro, it really just fucking happened. Wow. And that was the Kimbo train, man. Like we were on it, dude. And so the next one was like, next fight was he fought Bo first, second. Next fight I think it was Tank. We fought Tank.
Yeah, he
fucking. We went back. I was like, I doubled down. I'm like, fuck it. And I started making Team Kimbo shirts for him. I made all these Triumph Kimbo shirts, and they just would go. They would fucking go. We couldn't stop fucking selling those shirts. After that, he fought James Thompson, and that's when he walked out with his mega Triumph logo, and like he was all triumphed out, and I mean, it was cool because it really kind of catapulted the company. We started selling to different places too. Like we started selling to more mainstream places because at that time MMA was fucking selling.
Yeah.
We were actually in fucking stores. And so it was all working out. Then we entered this phase where Tap Out wanted to get involved with Kimbo. And so Tap Out, we all ended up talking about a deal. And this is what a lot of people don't know. I was actually working a deal with Tap Out. I was going to sell Triumph to Tap Out.
Oh, no shit.
It had papers drawn up and everything. And so we were going to sell the brand to Tap Out, and they got Kimbo. Like there was a switch. So from that James fight, then over to Seth Petrozelli, he came out in that fight. He came out and Tap Out, and that's the fight he lost. And then Mask died.
Yeah.
And our deal, everything just kind of got put on hold, and we never did the deal. But those were some of the early days, and we were like, we had everybody wearing. We had Dana. We did ads with Dana. We had Vanderlei. We had we had a lot of Rampage. We were pushing it everywhere on the Triumph end. It was fun.
Yeah. I seen that shoot to Dana. You, Tiki, Ryan Loco.
Yeah.
I was all busting balls.
Yeah. Dana was busting everyone's balls.
He was. Yeah.
Dana was. If it wasn't for Dana supported the brand heavy back in the day, and Tiki and Dana, and Tiki was a part of Triumph. Yeah. Those guys have been best friends forever, and he really helped like us launch this thing. And so we got to do like a lot of cool stuff that a lot of people didn't have to do for a long time, and then boom. Like there was the UFC came through and they started taxing brands, and so we got held off for a bit. We definitely were held off. We didn't have to pay for a little bit, which was like it was crucial because like every dollar counted, And then yep. I got the call from Merch, and he's like, "Hey, bro, you gotta pay." I'm like, "Fuck! I gotta pay fucking the UFC, and I gotta pay the fighters, and so every single time, like you were just wondering, hey man, if this guy walks out with this thing, we were hoping, like it would like the days, like it changed. It did change up the whole position of having a walkout T-shirt could make you a lot of money, like Silver Star, fucking all these companies that are making Affliction, making millions of dollars off the UFC. Millions and millions of dollars, and rightfully so. The UFC should have always, I mean, I've had conversations with them about this too. I'm like, dude, this is advertising, you know, like you guys should be taking a percentage. I don't have a problem, at the end having to pay. It was more about like things were going in different directions, and so we were seeing less and less like walkout T-shirt. Our T-shirt sales were starting to drop, and like people were just moving on. And then they did the Reebok deal, and like. We're all done.
Yeah, it's kind of eliminated the whole thing. But that was it way back then. Is they started taxing these brands. So you want to sponsor our guys in the UFC, you pay us first,
right?
Then you pay your athlete.
So what would you get for that? Do you have to pay for
the ability for the guy to wear it?
What could you get? Would the fighter be allowed to wear a walkout tee, and you have like access to have
everything had to go through Mike Mersch as far as the approval of the brand. So your brand would come, and then Mike would say, "Well, what is your brand first of all?" Yeah. Okay, great. Here. And then and
some brands would be approved.
So literally we had a guy that wanted to pay Martin Campman. It was like, and he was in the sex toys, but it was like his brand was Golden Triangle. You didn't even know what the hell it was. Yeah. So the guy had hit me up and was like, "Hey, I want to sponsor a fighter. Who do you want?" And then Martin had a fight coming up. So I was like, "Oh, well, I'll throw it to Campman." And I was like, "Hey, it's Golden Triangle. He's probably making fucking dildos, whatever, but it's going to pay you $30K. Yeah. Right. So we had to go to Mersch, and Mersch was like, "What's the company?" I was like, "I don't know. Maybe it's like a travel agency." And Mike's like, "This is a fucking dildo company." So they wouldn't take it. But at the time, it was like, like Hans knows if you can get 4 or 5 companies for that logo or that real estate on your shirt or shorts or whatever it was, that was really the meat and potatoes of what these fighters are getting paid. It wasn't
more.
Way more.
Probably more than the fight itself, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, we were paying these guys a lot of money, man, a lot of money, and that's what I'm saying. When the UFC imposed the tax, it was bittersweet because it was like, hey, look, we're losing money because we do got to pay this yearly thing, but it also eliminated a bunch of shit brands. Yeah, and so like because we were established, we already were making money. It didn't matter. We didn't care about that part, but it took away from a brand that and this is how the fight game is that like, hey, I was paying 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, some, you don't know. Like it depends on who the fighter is. Because guess what? You put the right shirt on them, it's fucking moving that next day. If they win that fucking fight, those shirts are moving.
So go on, sorry.
And so like, it was worth it. But when they didn't win, you still got to pay up. And that's where fighters are getting fucked too. Yeah. Is that a lot of fighters wouldn't pay them. Yeah,
it was like Cowboy and Misha were both Budweiser.
Yep.
And then when the Reebok thing came in, that was a 6-figure deal that kind of goes away because the Reebok comes in and takes that out of their pocket.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I've seen a lot of guys then shift over to Bellator and PFL because they can still get them, sponsors.
Yeah, Phil Davis was, I think, a big reason why I think he ended up deciding to go to Bellator because a lot of his yearly income was coming in from Affliction and other companies, Yeah.
Yeah, and then that ushered into when I spoke with Merch first actually, and then there was other guys at the UFC that when I started the Monster program, we were nowhere near that caliber yet. It was such a small program. That's what kind of, like when I started the Monster program, it was literally a exploratory program that was like, me and my Cody, who runs all of Action Sports, like allowing me to have fun and like get involved with Monster to do some sponsored to do some stuff. Right. Cody and I work together at Osiris. He runs to this day all of Action Sports. He oversees everything, right? And so we started to do this program where it was like, hey, let's just see where it goes, right? And that kind of rolled into where sponsors of a couple of athletes. And then we rolled into the Bellator deal. And that Bellator deal allowed for us and showed everybody at corporate, just like at Osiris, like, this is fucking real, dude. Like this is real. It's really impacting sales. We need to expand on this. And so that's when the UFC discussion started, and we got in the UFC and we became the center mat sponsor.
Wow. So again, just in case the viewers missed this, you literally created this category that never existed before. You've seen the opportunity, like you've done in your other businesses prior, to get involved with mixed martial arts, and you've seen the growth, and you wanted to really capitalize on, or not capitalize, but get Monster involved in this growing sport. Even though at that time when you got involved, it was in infancy. It's now moving at a fast pace. Was it illegal in still some states then, or was it starting to
With
open up
Monster?
more? No, the MMA, was it still illegal
When you were with
at that point?
Monster.
When you first got in?
No, not at all. No.
The states started opening up.
All the states are open now.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, we took the Zions deal. So Zions, which was a Fertitta, and it was a deal that they had. Like they moved that category out. And we took that spot, and then we took the center mat. I mean, so we took the energy and we took the center mat. I think it was Budweiser or somebody. Who was it? Bud Light or something.
Yep.
Yeah. So you created this category
Within Monster.
Within Monster.
Yeah.
Who were the first athletes that you went after?
Well, the first one we ever had was Artem Sharshoshkin, who is he owns actually the boxing club in San Diego.
Okay.
And Artem and I have been friends for a really long time. He's a Muay Thai fighter, and I put the logo on his shorts for one of his fights just to fucking like do it. It was the first one, and then from there it moved on to we had it was Tyrone Spong, actually.
Oh, Tyrone. Yeah.
It was Tyrone Spong.
Good
and
dude.
then from there, it was Dominic Cruz and then Michael Chandler.
Damn.
Yep. So that was the sequence.
What year was this?
I want to say 2010, 2009, 2010.
And did you see the same reaction that you did from other companies prior, like Osiris, where they came to you and said, holy shit?
So we did an event in Hawaii, and that was the first. It was Elite XC. We put the Monster logo on the mat. It was a small deal, but the Hawaiian market and the sales side of stuff translated back to people at corporate, and that's when they were like, "Hey, is there bigger opportunities for this?" Bellator rolled around, worked out a Bellator deal, and then with that Bellator deal came Rampage Jackson. The combination of Rampage and the Bellator deal, like, ignited into doing stuff on a larger level with all the stores and stuff that we were working with. It got more attention as a like MMA type sponsor, and we started to carry on and grow that. Then you fast forward, and the UFC deal pops off, and we sign one of the biggest and the craziest teams ever, right off the bat, and have the logo, center mat, Ronda Rousey, Ronda's fight, sponsored Ronda, I mean, like we had the original team was just crazy,
Who was in that team?
we had John Jones, Daniel Cormier, Anthony Pettis, Weidman, and these were all champions at this point too. Yeah. Ronda,
Stipe?
Nope.
Connor
was the last one. Connor was the actually lowest paid last person to be put on the team. And I had worked, Connor and I'd given Connor stuff and John Kavanaugh stuff for Triumph years ago. And I knew, so we had a relationship, and then, Audie and I had talked about it, and we kind of went back on, and if the numbers were so low, it was insane. Like we're just like, I was like, just give him a little bit more. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. Yeah. And then it was just like a year later, Connor went Connor, and Connor became synonymous with Monster. Yeah. Like everything we fed off each other in a way that I knew how to shoot Connor, I knew how to work with Connor, I knew how to give things back to the brand for Connor, with Connor, and it just really, really kind of like ushered in this whole thing where MMA was like a solid platform to be able to intro stuff like you. And do new things and bring other people in, but that was it. I mean, having all these great athletes and then Connor just popping it off, really, really kind of solidified stuff.
Undoubtedly, everybody who around the world knows who Conor McGregor is. But what did you see in him before he became, the superstar that we all know he is?
I think we all saw Connor in those, in the early stages of just doing what normal fighters do when they're arrogant and haven't been beaten and have that attitude. But the difference with Connor, especially when you meet him and you sit down with him in those days, is that he would look you in the eye and he would not only convince you, but he would make you get inspired to do something. And he was so this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to become. No one's stopping me. And like laying out his legacy.
Wow.
Not like, I hope to do this. No, he just had it to the T. This is what I'm fucking doing. And he was, and he had this, we were in Los Angeles eating at a restaurant, and like, nobody knew who he was. We went and shot on the beach. Nobody knew who he was, but he had the fucking buzz and flair around him when he walked around. Like, when you walk around friends or people and you're like, my friend's just cooler than me. He had that, but on a fucking extra level. And like that radiated over and over. But when I shot photos of him, when I shot that Scream photo of him, and down the street, like it was like when I was shooting those photos, I was through the lens. It reminded me of some of the other portraits I had shot that like were already established people. Yeah. Because he just had that. He had it. It was just coming off of him.
He had that it.
It was just being around him. You're just like, dude, this guy, there's something different about this guy. Like he was like Kimbo, it was like that same kind of like feeling. Like you're just like, dude, okay. Like, and so for me, a marketer, right? Yeah. That's everything I look for, because I mean, that's a question I always get. Like, how do you figure out who's on the team? Whatever. Like, well, it's that I choose and I try to find the best people for the brand I'm working for or my brand. It's 100% based around what will increase the brand's, like the viability of the brand, the visibility of the brand, like what is the brand ethos. It's not always going to be the guy that has the best record or the champion. It's not always going to be that. It's going to be who fits the brand category in a way that like, will propel it to the next level. Yeah. And so, starting way back, like I said, like when I learned it from DOA, like that's how I looked at things. Like I need to have guys, I need to have people that I know that when I work with them, they're going to understand what I'm doing, my vision, how I do this, trust that I'm going to be able to help them get to where they want to go. And we've had good success. Yeah. I mean, like I have a pretty good track record of working with athletes and taking them and like doing stuff with them. That's and it's kind of like sometimes it's out of their element. Yeah. And it like, it's I'll get them to do things or I'll get them to say like, and it really kind of just opens it up. And then like, I think it makes it like one of those things, like, and that's why I bring back action sports, because that's what we did. Yeah. We got guys to come down to levels where people were like, dude, that was just fucking funny. Right. That was cool. That was funny. Or like that was just different. That's not something that you normally see,
We're talking about the Instagram reels, yeah. Right.
I'm just talking about in general. I mean, like I've been doing before the social media. Yeah. Like we did videos. Like we did actual VHS tapes the same way. Like I've always done that. Yeah. It's always been like me and the athletes. Like it's always been like, hey, we set things up and we do things to like, we create skits. We do things like that's like, you look at the Jackass, you look at the CKY, you look at like all these things that came before. Like that's what we did. Yeah. If you dissect it that way, like this is all the same, and it's because it appeals to the audience. It's fun. It's a little out of element, and it works.
And this is what a lot of now viewers who are watching this for the first time will now know about you, because you've been around the guys like Steve-O and all these people, and now again from the years of you doing what you've done and evolving or going into new categories, these funny little skits are something that are, again, not just being done once, they've been done many times, just with another hat on your head. Thousands of times. Like
in like, yeah, the ones that go off are the documented ones, and like most of those ones are, I mean, on the fly. You've seen them. They're on the fly.
We have one that fucking went viral for you.
Yeah. That was on the fly. That was like, hey, hold on, just do this. Just wait. And it wasn't even it wasn't like, hey, planned out, like just hold this.
Yeah, we went we were doing an appearance in New York, and these guys really wanted us to come over to their, was it like a restaurant?
Yeah,
like
it was a taco shop.
Yeah, a taco place, and they wanted us to have a little thing, because we've done like
no. What they wanted they wanted to have a post. That's all. All they asked for was a post. They just, but they were thinking about like you going behind the like in like
smiling with the taco.
In the kitchen. Yeah. And I was like, hey, dude, I got something better. Yeah. And this was what's crazy is that like this was on the heels of DC, but no one had really known, or maybe it was before. It was before. It was before. Was it, you got it before?
Yeah.
Okay. But see, because no one really had caught on quite yet, like that we were doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, dude, I have a fucking perfect one for this one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the taco bowl.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, hey,
yeah, my acting skills are incredible. Everybody was so mad when they seen that. It's like, who the fuck is that guy, Flex?
That's
They're
awesome.
so protective.
Yeah, because you're a fan. Like, so when these were happening in different places, like no one, it was all coming in different places.
Yeah,
like, all three of them happened at one time. So it was Masvidal, him, and Cormier. Yeah, and it was like I did it as a series almost. You know, and it wasn't people were dude, he does it all the time. No, it was actually playing as like a series, and it worked. It worked because it was like. Another thing too is I don't care who you are, like the fact that something's getting kicked out of your hand is like it's not only scary for him because he doesn't know if I'm gonna just fucking boot the shit out of his hand, but like you have to have it like in a way that it does something where you know, and like you get a little genuine reaction out of it. Yeah.
And well, going back to us, you know, we talked about that skit, but it was a year, I think it was a year, maybe a year and a half, when I realized that monster had been following me, you know? This guy had been following me, whatever. And I was following you anyway. And then, full circle, I kind of got this, again, early thought of, oh my God, look, this is fucking great, right? You remember all this stuff. Yeah. Monster's gonna, why are they following me? I'm gonna get sponsored or whatever else it was. And then I kind of was like, you know, my enthusiasm started dropping off slightly and stuff. And then out of the blue, there was no rhyme to reason, you hit me up, right, to speak. Can you remember how the first initial, how we went down? This is the part that gets very blurry for me.
I said, what's your phone number?
Yeah. And I sent you a kissy face back and give it, right?
Yeah. And I called you and I was driving up the road to LA.
Yeah. And obviously, I didn't know what it was going to be about. I hope, you know, like everybody else, I hoped it was going to be about monster. But we just shot the shit. We have a lot of mutual friends. You know, Ryan Loco is one of them.
We talk.
Yeah.
But that's what I do. That's the whole thing. Is like I got to feel people out. I mean, I don't want it. I can't put myself in situations in which like, and it's happened to me. But I mean, like I try to avoid situations in which I have to have a personal relationship with people, right? But I also have to have a very business relationship, and we also have to know when those two mix and match. And so, like, you know, in your world, you know this better than anybody else. Is that like there's going to be times where you have to have intimate details on how people are going to be doing stuff, but at other times you have to be like, hey man, like if you don't do this, then we can't do this.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I get that question a lot is like, you know, how do you pick and choose which fighters you work with? And I think it's exactly kind of how you're talking about is even when Francis and I got together, it was like we were friends. I got to see the way he worked. He got to see the way that I worked. And over time, it became organic. It was like, okay, I see his vision. He sees mine. Yeah. All right, let's get this shit together and let's get to work.
You know, relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Chemistry.
And you've developed something, because I've been watching for how you've done it. You've developed a system in the way you coach that, like, you really, like, you're not, to me, and I've never trained with you, but I'm only assume, is that, like, you really watch and feel what's best for them.
Correct.
You know, you're not forcing, because like I've dealt with coaches where I'm like, dude, I'm never going to be able to, I'm not doing that, you know?
Yeah. I think when we talked about this quite a bit, when you have a standard and your unmovable standard things of like, okay, my ethics, my morals, being on time, doing all the right things, and then you fit that standard, but then you have a you know, let's say like a Francis, and then you have a Dan Ige, then you have a Puna Hele Surian, you have all these different mentalities that
I got
come
Puna.
in.
Puna's one of my guys.
Puna's my guy. Yeah. You know, so but again, you have to approach Puna very differently than you approach another fighter, right? So it's the way you attack it, the way you approach it, the way you speak to them is going to be very different from each one. Yeah. But my core values always stay the same, right? My approach stays the same, my standard stays the same, but when you think about it from a technical prowess and what they're trying to accomplish in a fight or what they do or their brand, like even when we did the shoot little thing with Puna, right? Like Puna, when you talk to Puna, the quietest, this guy, and then all of a sudden you see him in a fight, you're like, holy shit, and he's dry humping the cage, and fucking monster facials and everything else. Like, we got to go with this, man.
I was so blown. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like,
who is that guy?
No, who's Puna?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, like, who came out of this.
like he was.
I wasn't expecting that, but it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, but that was kind of the thing, because from our side of it, where we know Puna, that was a marketing thing when we were like, okay, you're now a monster guy. We gotta go on. We gotta go with something on this, bro.
He went fucking full send on that shit.
Full send.
And it was like,
good for him.
He went from like, dude, I don't even know if this guy even fucking cares. Oh my god! And it was sick. I was fucking stoked on that.
So, what made you go into fitness? That's kind of the question that I wanted to ask you. Yeah, what was the interest?
Remember Muscle Monster?
Muscle Monster, yeah.
Yeah, so we started Muscle Monster, and Muscle Monster, which then kind of we morphed into Hydro.
Yeah.
But like it was a drink that we were doing that was fitness related.
Okay.
And so the guys that they were trying to work with at that point in time was a whole different group. Remember?
Yes.
It was a whole different group, and I was just like, no. Come over here. And that's when I was like, this is what we're building now. But like I also was like, but they're not going to just be Muscle Monster guys. They're going to be green guys, and that's you're a green guy, and there's a huge difference. And so, but that's where I came in to lend my, my abilities to find people, which were you and Big Boy. Like that's why it made sense. But then you guys, like again, like I said, you guys are green guys, and you guys never wavered from that, which was the fucking coolest shit ever, because I've worked with a lot of athletes where like, I'm not gonna fucking I'm not gonna drink fucking green, because they're like, trying to be like, they don't want sugar, or they don't want this, or they just want, serious. Yeah. And so we're like, well, what the fuck are you doing on the team then? But that's why you guys embodied the lifestyle so deep that it was like, it worked perfect.
I think you fucking see me. I live in my monster stuff. It's a badge of honor for me, and I really appreciate you sincerely, mate. Whatever you seen in me, I hope I'm living up to the.
It's weird because I thought you were somebody else. The whole time.
Fucking props, you're fucking course.
I thought, I was like, man, this guy is not the guy.
But fuck it, we'll just take him anyway.
I thought his last name was Wheeler.
Oh Jesus! Oh shit! Fucking guy. Jesus, and I was going to continue saying something nice.
I do have a question for Eric, though.
Sir.
Okay, because I look at it like we've got very similar career paths in different ways, right? Like, so I always stuck, to going like the business route and working on business. You went in and started Extreme Couture and went from like being a member to a coach to being the coach and everything, and also on the business side too. But did you ever was your intention going to Extreme to become a pro fighter? Was that ever your intention?
It's very similar to your same path, where I needed it as a outlet, but I wanted to be around individuals that were going to push me to a next level. That I just felt like my surroundings of people that I had at the time were taking me in a place that I wasn't happy in my life. So I was like, man, how could I be around these hard individuals that are waking up every day with a purpose and a goal? And I knew I wanted to be around that first. It wasn't necessarily the MMA side of it. It was just like, I want to be around Randy Couture. I want to be around a championship mindset. I want to be around Mike Pyle, who's waking up every day and training 3-4 times a day. And, I didn't get into it because I wanted to be a pro fighter, but I just knew that I wanted to be around something better. And then I started learning from the ground up, the same way you were talking about, even in all your industries that you're in. It's like, I want to learn how to be the front desk guy. I want to learn how to coach the kids class. I want to learn how to grapple and Ray Sefo, can I hold pads for you? And Ray's like, fuck yeah, man. Be here every Tuesday and Thursday. You're going to learn how to hold pads for me.
But you didn't have any desire to compete at all?
Well, I did in the beginning. So I was actually going to school for the fire department.
Okay.
And then I actually got offered to fight Ryan Bader at a local show here. I was training with Dennis Davis at the time, and the promoter came in and was like, hey, we need to fill a spot. And there was no amateurs back then. It was either you turned pro or you fought. And my wife was pregnant with our first, and I went home and I was like, hey, what do you think? They're going to pay me like $2,000. And she's like, to fight. She's like you're literally hired on by the city of Las Vegas to go become a firefighter. Like, why would you want to do that? You know, and it wasn't like this passion of mine that I wanted to do so bad. It was just kind of one of those things like, oh, well, I've been training every goddamn day. Might as well go fight. You know, and she's like, I don't think it's a really good idea. Thank God she talked me out of that. He would have fucking killed me.
So you never did then?
I never did.
Okay, but I mean, but so this is a flip thing where a lot of people don't know this, and I'm just going to say it because he's going to understand this real quick, and I'm sure you're going to see it from the gym side too, is that you're fucking fighting every day though.
Exactly.
You know, and there is a difference. I know, like that if you go inside, obviously getting ready for a camp and going inside the, you know, doing the walk and getting in the cage and doing all that shit, you know, that's one thing. But I mean, the amount of abuse that you take every day, like, I mean, I don't know how you do it, dude.
Yeah, and it was just that. It was, you know, 3-4 times a day of sessions of this and this and that, of pads, wall work, grappling, then we're doing this, and then I always find time to work out myself. Yeah. You know, like he'll see me, I'll come in during lunch and I'll do 30, 45 minutes. What are you doing? I was like, well, I got practice and, you know, pro practice at 3:30, but I can get in here at 2. I didn't want to sit around and just twiddle my thumbs, so I'll try to figure out time to get in. But
and he blasts it, by the way.
Yeah, try to get after it and then be done. But, you know, that was something I think for me, Hans, in the beginning stages, that was always going to be something that I was insecure about, was because I never made that walk. Well, I also didn't want to lie about it. I also didn't want to talk, because I knew guys, I would tell guys, be like, oh yeah, I had like 10 pro fights, but you couldn't look it up.
Yeah.
You know, because back then, you know, you couldn't essentially. But I also felt that there was an area there for me when I came from a football background that I can be very analytic. I can film study. I didn't feel like I had to lie, but I could ask questions and I can be, you know, vulnerable, I guess, at times. When I figured out that, like, Ray Sefo and Randy and Mike and all those guys accepted me for who I was and I wasn't trying to make shit up and lie about stuff. They took me under their wing and they wanted to see me grow and progress in the way that I have. So when I think for me as a coach, when you're talking about that, I didn't come up with a specific style. So like Sean Tompkins was one of my coaches, but Sean Tompkins came from an exclusively striking background. And I might have only learned his system or his things that he liked to do. And then I was a Dwayne Ludwig guy and I was a Ray Sefo guy. So I was able to take all these things and plug it into who and what, because certain fighters are going to ask a certain thing or need a certain skill set that fit them. And I was able to take from bits and pieces from each guy and apply it.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. I mean, it always gets drawn. Like for me, it's one of those things that I always have to constantly tell people, like, no, dude, I went the other way. If you understood what's involved in this game, like I wasn't looking to leave this game.
Right.
And for me, I get just as much joy fucking when Strickland came down and
for sure
we beat the shit out of each other.
For
and it's
sure.
like, and that's where I love doing that. It's actually what I like to do, you know, and
you get it. Like it is managing egos. And I think that has kind of became my gift from being a bartender forever in Las Vegas, is dealing with people. Yeah. You have to understand and deal and how to talk. And I have to talk to Sean a very different way than I have to talk to Chris Curtis or Francis or whatever else. But it is a relatable thing. And then you have to gain that trust and let them know, like, at the end of the day, bro, I'm going to be there for you no matter what. And we're going to go to fucking battle.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you've obviously done it. It's working, man. Like,
appreciate you, man.
And that's just like, I mean, I really respect it just because, you know, in this game, it's, you know, like you get people that have these preconceived notions on how these things work, and it's just and like if you're not, I think you know, for me for a long time, like in the early stages, like even me posting up just pad work when I'm doing it and everything, everyone would be like, dude, you're not a fighter. What are you doing? Well, you're not fighting. I'm like, this is what I just do. Like, this is actually like how come everyone else? Because again, when I come from skateboarding, so like I just could surf and I could skate. Like, why does fucking people? Why does it matter what you're like? You don't have, because you're training every single day and you enjoy training, or you like that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to do that, but it also shows support in the sense that you love to do it.
Absolutely.
You know, and like there's probably guys here in the gym that are beasts. They're probably never even thought about competing, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Or they don't want to.
They're just
they're not interested.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing I think that I would love to get across to a lot of people is like, hey, look, just like if you're into it, you're into training, and you're into you know, doing jiu-jitsu, you're into Muay Thai, and even just MMA training, like don't ever stop because people think that, like they're trying to force you to fight.
Yeah.
Like, continue, just have fun with it. There doesn't have to be this end. Like, because I have seen it. I've seen guys get to that point where they train, like they're so into it, and then they have one fight, and then you never see them again.
Never see him again.
Done.
You know, and you're like, that just ruined what could have been like a really long
Lifetime of it.
of martial arts. And that's, I mean, like, I still look at it like, hey, look, I'm just a student of martial arts. You know, I want to learn different styles of kicks. I want to be able to do this. I want to do that. But I also want to show that, like, at 45 years old, I still do it.
Yeah.
You know, I still try my best. I still do it. I'm not trying to put out anything out there like, hey, look, I'm trying to kill everybody. But I want to show that, hey, look,
I'm active. I'm busy. I'm doing. I'm a part of this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
I think people get so fixated on dissecting like technical this or this or this, and at the end of the day, all you're really doing is, bro, like, I'm fucking busy. I'm involved. I'm staying active. I love the sport.
Yeah.
You know, dude, to say you're a black belt under Dean fucking Lister is something else, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my guy, in my opinion, one of the best fucking grapplers to ever walk the fucking face of the earth.
Oh, you get it, man.
And unfortunately, that's the one thing I can't do anymore is I really can't roll.
Body.
Yeah, I mean, when I had my second neck fusion, there was a point, like, I've got 3 spinal fusions, and like the last one was like, and I was, I take that back. I will really control roll with people.
Right, guys,
But like what to have fun for me is like I like to kind of go balls out, and I can't do that because I know that I'm always like one thing away from having this happen again.
Yeah, shoulder popping out.
And I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I'm at my age right now, like it is like, it gets me nervous, but
this is coming from the guy too that comes to my gym cold and wants to fucking deadlift 700 pounds.
Well, that's different.
Tell me how.
Because I don't know much about that. I know what I'm getting.
So
I know what I'm getting.
Ignorance is bliss.
Huh?
Ignorance is bliss. Is
A little bit. When I know that I'm okay. So it was like when I'll move around with Strickland, but I know what could happen. I know at any point in time there's a fucking there's an RPG on the other end that could knock my fucking head off.
Yeah.
So I'll play it safe. But would I get on the ground with Sean and roll it? Fuck no.
Okay.
No, because I don't know where I will go.
Yeah.
Right, and I know that he's younger, he's stronger, he's a pro fucking fighter.
Yeah.
Like, so the chances of me doing something catastrophic are much higher.
Okay.
Where on the striking side, I could turn it back quick.
But you know this.
Yeah, and will he knock me out? Yeah, that could fucking for sure happen.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna like get something ripped.
So
Right.
So when I say to you, no hands, we're not fucking deadlifting 700 pounds on the floor.
I still don't know what that means, so I'm still gonna try. I haven't really hurt that part of my body yet.
I will
That's
say
like your
this.
whole body.
Yeah.
The whole body will be broken.
But when you say,
Really?
he'll wake up. So we've again traveled the fucking United States. Many times, we've gone to some great gyms. We went to Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym. Shout out to Steve, one of the best gyms in the country. And we've trained there.
Yep.
Chris Wyman trained with us.
Me and Chris.
Yeah.
He was in flip flops.
Yeah, fucking that's the pet peeve of mine. I fucking hate that. I don't
Wearing
in
slaps,
MMA place,
wearing
no problem.
slippers.
But when you come into my gym, I've just seen somebody lose their toe. That's why in front of me. That little piece of fucking cloth will shave it. But off the point. We've gone and we've trained in hotels, and this fucker will be like, "Yo, you awake?" He wakes up like an energy bunny.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yo, you awake?" And I go, "Yeah, just waking up." "All right, I'm at the gym. Let's go." I'm like, Jesus, who's the fucking pro here?
Yeah.
And this guy will go and go and go like a Duracell battery on the stairs. I get there, soaked in it. You're like, "What are we doing? Triceps and biceps." Okay. He wants to run, so I'm trying to fuck this guy up on the rack. I do get you, but still.
Yeah.
And then he's like, recovery mode straight away. He's like back in again, but he just wants to do the fucking heaviest shit that's in the gym. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to tell you how to get the best pump. We're going to do this, technique, twist. You know how it is. It's all technical stuff. He's like, they don't have enough weight, do you? I go, bro, it's fucking 50 pounds in the dumbbell rack here. Yeah, but we need to curl more. And I'm like, no, we don't. We don't. It's just like this guy.
Pro strength.
But again, we've had a lot of fun training together, and I do appreciate the fact that he is green to my world, and we've learned a lot. You've come to 2 Mr. Olympias.
Yep.
and being around me, which I don't allow anybody that close. You know, we were new friends at the time.
Yeah, your world's different though, man.
Yeah, and you got to see the behind the curtain, behind the fucking Wizard of Oz curtain.
I've just been noticing how fucking weird your world is, bro. I mean, all these fucking dudes, like, hey, I mean, working with you, working with Big Boy, and like going to these, like the expos and stuff like that, like. Some of the shit that goes down in your world could never fucking fly in his world.
Yeah, a couple of these guys get a slap in the face.
No, man, I've been watching it. I mean, I'm just going to speak on it right now, dude. I can't, like, there's dudes that are literally, I mean, maybe it does. I mean, I know there's trolls in MMA. I know that's there. But, like, they're not going to fucking walk up with a camera and talk shit and ask you something stupid at fucking his gym. They're going to get fucking flatlined quick.
Yeah, but what these fucking guys do is see, they're snakes in the grass. They'll wait for opportunist moments when nobody's around, and then they'll take advantage of the relationship that's been forged, the handshake that has been made, and again, the word that has been broken. To me, I'm old school, right?
That's it, man.
I'll fucking shake your hand, you look me in the eyes and you say, hey, I'm not going to do this. But when these fucking snakes in the grass do this, again, there's two sides to me. The most 98% see that side. And there is still that fucking 2% that will get that wrath. Unfortunately, for these guys, I'll say, I know a lot of people in a lot of different places, powerful places. So what has happened is somebody's come into my gym and they've interviewed certain members, unbeknownst to me, unbeknownst to the members, just stuck a camera in their face and asked them very disrespectful questions. And I don't condone that. Listen, you go to an expo. If you've paid to get in that expo, I don't know what the rules and regulations are, but you can go in and ask. But the fact is, this guy was here free. These people who you interviewed were not. They were paying members. They were here on a day pass, and now we've received messages saying that they will not come back. When you take bread from my fucking daughter's mouth and my son's mouth, that's different fucking Paul. That's when the ginger comes out, Eric.
Hey, but the point, but even then, even that's what what seeing they're like at expos or at your I just don't get how
they're trying to capitalize on something that's
they're trying to carve their niche.
It's like
the anti of the industry. It's
but listen, bro, they're bottom feeders, so what they get is what they get, right? And in the end, once you've done this so much, you've run out of fucking stock. You can't go anywhere else. Yeah. So it's an opportunist moment for that point in time. They're never going to be known for their accolades on stage.
You get ostracized out of that community.
Yes, exactly. And then they'll move on to MMA. And then they get fucking taught fast.
I see the beefs between people too, right? Yeah. And that's where I'm like, where does the beefs end? Do they have a pose off or something?
That's the difference. That's the difference.
What do
There's
they
other
do?
people.
Well, we got human resources at our gym.
That's true. That's true. I'll fucking sign up for that too. But she might not want me to do that. But I'm still undefeated, 1-0. I've done a medal boxing back in the day.
Let's go.
But to your point though, Hans, right? That's where does it go? But a lot of people, again, I come from a different fucking world. I came from a world where you fight. You handle it.
But does that happen in bodybuilding? Do bodybuilders physically fight? That's all I'm asking. Like
it's a you end the fucking shit talk on stage, supposedly, right? You do the whole, hype thing, like everything else, right? Some people take it more personal than others, but most of the stuff I've been involved with is being kind of pre-rehearsed, right? You say this, there's a line you don't step over, you don't talk about anybody's fucking family or kids and stuff like that, whatever. You just tell somebody's fucking shit, it's not going to beat you. And it ends there, on stage. That's what we should do. But, again, you've got these guys now who have now developed a niche within this industry who've never stepped on stage, or if they have, they didn't do fuck all. Yeah. And get their views. But again, you're making money off me and my kindness in the gym when you came in. So you're making money off me. Yeah. Now you're causing me money on my end. And the bottom line is also to this guy, I'm not naming his fucking name, but one of his closest friends has a business running out of here. So not only he's disrespected me, my GM, and has promised to pull these things down, he's put more out. And additionally, again, he's come into his friend's business and acted a fool. But anyway.
Hey, look, I just think there's a fucking simple solution. You could go straight over there. I think you should sell your fucking differences.
Human resources.
Yeah, I want to get paid though for that shit. I'm not going to fucking waste my time.
Or don't. We just fucking turn the lights out.
I'll just sign up for that too.
Let them motherfuckers go.
Yeah, but again, is this? There's a lot of people that know that have personally seen this because they again, I do people right, and they do me right, but they've taken it upon themselves now to be like, yo, I'm handling this. Mm. I'm like, calm the beast down. And these are guys, not the fucking like, oh, puff my, oh, fuck him up. No, these are guys who fucking wait for opportunist moments for stuff like this. And then I got the other hand who are like, sue his ass. So there's two fucking hands you're dealing with, bro. So, again, it's just a warning to anybody who's coming out to the gym. Don't fuck around, guys.
I can fuck around in here.
Yeah. But anyways, why have you got my fucking heart rate going on?
Sorry, man. I just had to fucking
Maybe
spice it up a little bit. I get a little spicy.
Yeah, but on
I
the
do want to go to his gym one day.
Oh, bro.
I'm coming if you're going.
Yeah. Love to have you guys.
Let's go tomorrow morning. Let's go train.
Yeah.
Early.
Well, we can work it out with him and we'll go over there together. I need to come over anyway.
Yeah.
Are you going to hit pads with him?
Oh, we got a plan.
No, he's gonna go with Addy.
What Ali knows and what me and Eric have planned is kind of ties into that fucking last conversation, maybe. But just gives me an excuse, right, Eric? Uh-huh. But all jokes aside, Hans, listen, mate. Is there anything that you want to finalize on, end with?
No, I mean I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
Guys, just go on some caffeine. No, it's great to have you. I want to touch on something that you kind of segue early on. For me, Monster is badge of honor, and I have a great relationship with you. We've been able to do some fucking cool shit. You've told me many times where I've been put in like not normal circumstances, especially in my world. Hey, trust me. How many times you told me that?
I don't know, but I'm sure a lot.
Hey, trust me. Hans, I don't know about this. Flex, trust me. And every time you and I have had that conversation, hey, Hans, and you said, hey, trust me, it's fucking worked out in multiple reasons. So you definitely have some it factor to what you do. You can see things happening. You can see things unfolding, whether they unfold to the full potential or not. But for me, I've had fucking hell of a ride, to be in my shoes right now and be the only bodybuilder sponsoring Monster, a brand that I grew up idolizing and looking at, BMX guys, motocross guys wearing this badge, and now be, again, the only guy. I'm very grateful. Whatever you've seen, I appreciate, mate. And again, I hope that I go on to do many great things for you in the future.
I mean, you're like a living garden gnome, dude. So, I mean, when
I set him up for something nice. This is his fucking reply.
Hey,
that's
like,
a real friend right there.
You're like a living garden gnome. I mean, how can we not do something with you?
Anyways. On that
I'm not going to tell him that, though.
No, because it's a different world. He's going to fucking teach me to be a fucking savage ninja, and then you won't be talking to me like that anymore. You never fucking stop. I know you won't.
Yeah, I'll never stop.
Yeah, you won't. Hans.
That's what's got me here, man. I don't stop talking shit.
No, we have the same relationship now as when I met. In fact, fucking worse. But on that note.
Worse relationship?
In a good way.
What the fuck's that supposed to mean?
Don't worry. Anyway, guys, Straight Outta The Lair, episode 16. Hans Molenkamp, Eric Nixick, Ali Lewis. Out.